on Monday Night Football.
Our round 14 edition of Monday Night Football comes to us from Energy Australia Stadium with the Knights, who welcome back their big guns, taking on the Raiders, who are certainly coming off another big win at home. But can they do it on the road? And then we've got the Newcastle players. Josh Perry arriving at the game, and it's a big one. The winner of this will move into the 8 Canberra players. There's their inspirational skipper, Alan Tongue. Scott Logan's been in terrific form. Canberra looking for a win away from home in this one against the Knights. G'day, welcome to Fox Sports continuing coverage, of the Telstra Premiership, and joining me on the panel tonight are Gary Freeman and Wayne Pearson. Gents, it's been another testing weekend. Fans, players like another wet weekend. Yeah, it's been pretty tough for all the fans out there, and the players, and the video referees, and some referees. But I take my hat off to all the fans that have gone out there this weekend, because the weather's been absolutely torrential with the rain, the wind. It's been freezing, and the people that have got out there to support their teams, well done. They've done a fantastic job.
Now, somebody who's come to the rescue tonight to the Fox Sports team, filling in for a sick and tired sometimes Andy Raymond, is our own Mark Braidbrook, a mercy dash from Brisbane late this afternoon. He had to battle through the traffic to get here as well, Potsy.
Yeah, Warren, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, I should say, to you and Laurie and everyone at home. It's been a rush job to get here, and the conditions, as everyone would be aware in the Hunter, have been terrible over the last couple of weeks. And still a lot of localised local flooding, and the roads around Energy Australia Stadium are really chopped, and so we're expecting a big crowd tonight, but they'll take some time getting in. As you mentioned, it really is Canberra-like conditions tonight. We've had some showers this afternoon, and I think we're going to get a few more throughout the night tonight. The playing surface, though, is in outstanding order. It will be a little bit slippery, but when you consider the amount of rain that has been here, the playing surface is in great nick, and there is a strong southerly blowing, so I would expect whoever wins the toss will take full use of that in the first half, and hopefully in the second half we'll be able to hold on. Let's have a look at the team changes for tonight. Both sides have a couple. For the Newcastle Knights, Luke MacDougall is out. That elbow injury he suffered last week against the West Tigers. George Carmont comes straight in jumper number 18, so a handy replacement there for Newcastle. And as we look at the Canberra Raiders, they also have one change, but that is on the interchange bench. In jumper number 16, you can cross out Ben Jones. His replacement in 18 will be Brad Cross for the game tonight. Brandy, it's back to you. It's a bit chilly here in Newcastle. I'm looking forward to some great work with the telestrator tonight, and if you can do us a favour, just keep those outrageous comments from the Wizard to a minimum.
Well, you stay watching, Mark Braidbrook, because there'll be plenty of both, I'm sure.
Well, I've got to tell Mark one thing. It's night time up there in Newcastle. We're not on daylight. It has gone. Yeah, it has gone. We gave Mark one chance. Well, we'll be replaced next week by Andy.
He's been flying down. He's battled through the traffic. He's a bit flustered. Can you cut him a bit of slack?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Welcome back to Monday Night Football, and fans all over the weekend really deserve a medal showing up. It has been tough at most matches, and it's raining up there at Energy Australia Stadium. The fans doing the best they can to stay dry, and it's going to be interesting. Let's hope there's a big crowd up there. Let's go back to Newcastle, where Mark Braidbrook is joined by Knights coach Brian Smith.
Well, Brian, a big night for the club tonight. Monday Night Football against the Raiders, but for Danny Buderus, it's even bigger.
It's huge. And that makes it huge for all of us, because Danny's the light in the darkness in Newcastle. You know, he's the brightest star in the place at the moment. And Danny's he's not only our captain, but he's our motivational leader, and he's the core of our team. You know, and he's it's a wonderful weekend for me. Nathan Hindmarsh, who's many of those things for Parramatta, having his 200th, and Danny doing it tonight is I feel fantastic for both of them.
The halves combination you got tonight, is that the future for Newcastle? Are you excited about these two together tonight?
That's the plan. I can remember when Alfie Langer was first playing for Queensland, and people talked about him being, he was too small and not this and not that. And that's a bit of a worry with Walsh, because he is only a little fella. But he's a born footballer, a bit like Alfie was, and he's tough like Alfie was. Might be a bit quicker than Alf, but I hope he gets some chances to show everybody tonight what he's capable of. He's a very talented kid.
Good luck.
Thanks.
He sounds confident, Brian Smith, but time for another break here on the pre-game show. With kick-off not far away, we'll see the return of Newcastle's big-name players, Gidley, Simpson, Mullen and Danny Buderus, so don't go away. Welcome back to Monday Night Football, and they've had it tough up in the Hunter. Let's hope things get better. There was a shot of the SCS volunteers. No doubt they've earned their rest there at the football to watch the Knights get home, the vocal and parochial crowd. And there's the court jester. I wonder how he's riding that bicycle in the wet, but one of the key players we heard from Brian Smith talk about, the captain, Danny Buderus. He will join an elite group of those to wear a Knights jumper and plays his 200th game for the club. He has been super, and there's the list of most games for the Knights. Andrew Johns at the top, Tony Butterfield, Robbie O'Davis, Matthew Gidley and Danny Buderus sitting on 199. We'll make it 200 in a Knight Junior, and the inspiration, he is a leader in what he does, not what he says.
Exactly right. He's a follow-me leader. He's not a get out there and do it. He leads by example, and they'll need him to do that again tonight. Once again, he's another one of those durable players. I mean, the way he plays, the size that he is, he plays above his weight week in, week out, and he just keeps getting out there and doing it and lifting his peers. And you think with his work rate, particularly with the conditions, Wiz, he'll be a real key tonight.
Well, the big key for him is going to be his defence, how well he controls that ruck area. He loves running out of the line and trying to smash the opposition, but also the other one is what sort of kicking game will he have with the young two halves in his side now. So whether they play either side and he jumps out and kicks down the right-hand edge, it'll be interesting to see. But look, he's a tremendous player. I just like watching him play footy. He's a good football player.
It was a nightmare for all Newcastle fans. What turned out to be Joey's last game became a torment best left locked away in the darkest reaches of the subconscious.
It's the Raiders' night tonight, and they might crack the half-century.
Now the Knights can erase the memories of that terrible occasion and bring some joy to this storm-ravaged city. They face a Raiders team that is unbeatable at home, but suffer on the road.
He loses it. He just lost it.
It's a battle of almost medieval intensity as the Knights face the highest-rated, underrated team in the comp. Desperate to stop singing the homesick blues on a barnstorming edition of Monday Night Football.
The Knights and the Raiders on Fox Sports.
It's Monday Night Football. Thanks for joining us here at Energy Australia Stadium. The Knights and the Raiders, both familiar to Monday Night Football fans. Both winners, of course, in 2007 as well. And we have a cold and drizzly evening here in Newcastle, but the football action should be hot if the Raiders can show the form they showed last week, Laurie, against the Parramatta Eels. What a marvellous opening to that game was. 24 points in just 12 minutes.
One of the best starts I've seen in a long while by this Canberra side. In fact, the best start in really the history of the game. 24 points in the opening 12 minutes. And this is the way that they'll line up tonight. Zillman at the back, Milne on the wing along with Goodwin, and a centre combination of Chalk, Best, and the improving halves, Terry Campese and the exciting Michael Dobson. They've got a big, strong forward pack. Dane Tilson, Scott Logan leading the way up front. Lincoln Withers, creative out of dummy half, and a hard-working back row of Costigan, Turner, and of course their skipper is Alan Tunk. Getting tremendous value off their bench. Josh Miller, Troy Thompson, Nigel Plum, who played his first game for the Raiders last weekend, and Brad Cross. And of course their coach is Neil Henry, one of the most exciting young coaches in the game. And of course Queensland's assistant coach along with Mal Meninga. And the Raiders, Lincoln Withers giving his team last instructions. I think this will be a good battle. I think it'll be a tremendous battle in the middle of the park. Both willing sets of forwards.
Their form on the road can be mixed. We'll see which Canberra Raiders outfit turns up here tonight. The Newcastle Knights with a new halves combination, a halves combination for the future, says their coach Brian Smith. Their back line tonight is Gidley, who's back from the shoulder injury, McManus, Carmont, who's in the side for Luke McDougall, Ty, Adam McDougall, Mullen and Walsh. The forward pack for the home side is Perry, Buderus, Woolnough, Simpson, Patterson and Tanner in the starting side tonight. And their bench also Young, Bailey, Tolar and Sargent. Corey Patterson with Luke Walsh beside him, the long and the short of it for the Newcastle Knights here. Luke Walsh lining up at just his third game in the NRL. He is the long-term halfback as far as the coach is concerned. Likewise, Jared Mullen coming back from injury himself. Well, number 6 tonight, perhaps a number 6 for New South Wales possibly in Origin 3, when the Blues try to avert the maroon wash, if you like, up there at Suncorp Stadium in just on 2.5 weeks' time. Danny Buderus in the corner of the screen there, about to come out for the 200th NRL game of his career. The Raiders are ready. They'll be coming down the tunnel in a few moments' time. 6 wins, 6 losses. The same record as the Newcastle Knights, and the winner of this one will find themselves in the top 8. The loser will be on the outside looking in. Again, a tight result for Newcastle. They get the win. Dobson kicks it from the sideline after the bell, and at full time Newcastle have moved into the top 8. The Raiders fall out of the top 8 as a result of their loss, 22-18. And another narrow win for Brian Smith and the Newcastle Knights. They just can't put a team away, can they?
No, but I'm sure they'd be happy about the fact that they did get the 2 points, and at stages they looked to be a really good football team. They played some good football, they played some tough football, and while ever they've got those key senior players within the playing roster, they'll always be very competitive. They've got a good group of youngsters coming through. It will take time, but eventually Newcastle will get there, and I think Brian Smith is the man to take them forward.
Well, they had plenty of stars tonight, and Mark Braybrook is with one of them.
Well, Steve Simpson, a terrific effort from the Knights tonight. Down 4-0 at half-time, going into a breeze in the second half. What did Brian Smith have to say?
Yeah, it's a gutsy effort. I thought, Smithy said at half-time, sort of keep going on with the game like we were, and just play short game. It's a bit hard to play the long passing game tonight, and we just played that short game and it paid off for us.
Great to have yourself, Danny Buderus, Gidley and Mullen all on the field at the one time.
Yeah, it is great. It's been a while coming, I suppose, with Kurt Mullo being out and then Betsy and I being away, but I think if we can keep them players on the field, it's going to be great for us.
What about these young players? Laurie Daly made a point during the game. Corey Patterson, having a mentor like you there to bring these young blokes through with Danny Buderus, etc. What is the future of the Knights?
Yeah, I think it's very bright. Obviously, a lot of these players come out of our flick side last year, which is a great side. So we can keep them on the paddock and they can keep improving. I think we've got a pretty quality side here for years to come, which is good.
Congratulations.
Cheers, thank you.
Very good effort tonight from Steve Simpson. A little catch in behind the line towards the end just before he came from the field, as you said. Typified what he was able to do for Newcastle here tonight. Likewise, Danny Buderus. And speaking of Danny Buderus, let's go back down to Mark Braybrook.
Well, our Bundaberg run $1,000 man of the match in Bundy Monday Night Football, celebrating his 200th first grade game. Danny Buderus, congratulations, mate. Terrific effort.
Yeah, it was. It was obviously a wet night here, and the conditions are very tough. But we've got a good look at it about our team at the moment, and we're going along okay.
So much is made of players playing their 200th milestone games. Does that add any extra pressure?
Yeah, well, it's a big night for me personally, and I've got to thank the boys for really getting behind me and getting a good win up for me. So it's a milestone, but you got to look forward. So that's what retirement's for. You look back after that.
Being only up 4-0 at half time, did you think you'd done enough in that first half? Did you think you're under pressure?
No, I was very happy. Our defence was attacking. I thought that was great, and we had a couple of opportunities that we could have got over the stripe, but we capitalised early in that second half, and a bit disappointing at the end there.
But do wins like this in difficult conditions, does that set you up for the next month or so at least?
Yeah, it does. Our for and against is nowhere near what it should be, so we've got to get those 2 points and keep getting up that ladder.
Congratulations on the win, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Beautiful. Great night from dummy half for Danny Buderus. What an effort from him to pick up some big meters when it counted in the first half as well. And then in the second half, they went on with the job after giving up a lead to the Raiders, but they've won as the rain gets heavier here in Newcastle. They've seen plenty of that in recent times, but they see another Newcastle win. They're back in the top 8. 7-6 now is their record. We will take a break and come back with our post-game show in a moment. The media conferences and more analysis from the studio with Brandy and the boys.
Welcome back to Monday Night Football, and the Newcastle Knights have turned the tables on the Canberra Raiders, reversing the round 3 Monday Night Football result and running out 20-2, 18 winners over the Raiders, and Danny Buderus certainly deserved the Bundy man of the match with the players cheering him off, and he thanked his players for the effort, but Danny Buderus was simply superb in his 200th first-grade game. Let's have a look at the stats out of the game.
Yeah, plenty of position going the way of the Newcastle Knights side there, 53%. They spent plenty of time in their own half once again, the Raiders, even though they had that big win with them in the second half. You've got to look at the line breaks, 8-4. Offload's pretty high for the Newcastle side, who really just decided to spread the ball around a lot more in that second half. But things that were a worrying sign for the Raiders at half-time and at full-time, 20 missed tackles at half-time, back up to 44, and that really did hurt them in the end.
OK, let's go back to Energy Australia Stadium. Woz has made his way to the Knights dressing room, and he's got their 2-try scoring winger, Adam MacDougall, with him.
Brownie, is just like old times here in Newcastle. There's a MacDougall on the wing scoring a couple of tries tonight. Adam, a terrific effort against the Raiders to come from behind, especially running into that breeze in the second half.
Yeah, they were trying conditions tonight, but got a young side, and I thought they showed a lot of character, the young blokes, and exciting times ahead for the club.
Yeah, speaking of a young side, of course, the halves combination, Luke Walsh, Jared Mullen, plenty of good ball for you guys outside, and when you've got somebody like Corey Patterson emerges on the scene as well, you're going to get some chances to score some tries.
Yeah, we've probably played a little bit conservative this year, but Smithy's just told me to be patient, and we're going to see a lot more ball now. We've got two halves there, so I'm looking forward to building a good partnership with the new halves we've got.
No panic when Canberra hit the lead early in the second half there?
No, not really. It was them sort of conditions. We knew if we just stuck in there and completed our sets of 6 and got to our kick, we were always going to be in the show.
Back into the top 8 now. How far can this side go? I mean, it's the early stages, of course, but still plenty of football to be played. Where can you finish up?
Yeah, I definitely think we can make the finals, and we're only going to get better as a side with these young guys, and each week they're going to improve. So, we expect to make the finals. Anything less to be a disappointing result for us.
Good to see you grabbing a couple of tries tonight. Well done against the Raiders.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Adam MacDougall, 2-try hero for the Newcastle Knights here. And, of course, as far as injuries are concerned for Newcastle, Josh Perry out of the game early with that hamstring injury. Dr Neil Halpin will assess him now as we speak. We'll get a word perhaps tomorrow morning as to how long Josh Perry might be out of action for the Newcastle Knights.
Good on you, Wazza, catching up there with Adam MacDougall. And Adam MacDougall, as we said just after full time, that he plays a pretty important role in a very young Newcastle backline.
Yeah, I think he's an important ally for Brian Smith in terms of educating the young players. You've got Walsh. Jared Mullen's played a couple of years there, but he's still fairly much a rookie. McManus, Ty, these sort of guys, and Adam MacDougall, his experience, and he's a very positive, he's had his critics over the years, but he's a very positive athlete and prepares very well. So I think he's got a big role to play in the development and emergence of these young players.
Alrighty, it's Brian Smith's turn to front the media, so let's go back to Newcastle and hear what he's got to say with Adam Woolnough.
Well, Brian, that was a terrific effort considering the conditions tonight.
Yeah, it was awkward for the boys, I think. Although they weren't showing too many signs about it in the dressing room, we were relieved and pleased with the win. Probably 70 minutes worth of the game there was the best defence we've come up with this season consistently, I think.
Did you think you'd done enough at half-time?
Oh, not at half-time, no. No, we'd been good, and for us to keep a 0 scoreline, I think anybody's pleased with a 0 scoreline 40 minutes of NRL footy in any conditions nowadays. But that was very encouraging. We were really happy with it, and we built on it, which was good.
And the way you came from behind in the second half, was that pleasing as well?
Again, yeah, we haven't had a win this year by more than 6 points. I thought we were going to break that tonight, but should have known better. And I think that spirit is evident. I think we've shown it any number of times this year. The boys have handled a lot of stuff this year. It's from Joey's retirement early in the season and lots of things that are going on, disappointments of big losses, and they've bounced back every single time. So I'm hoping we bounce back from this win and we win 2 in a row, because we haven't done it since our second round this season.
Losing a front rower early makes it tough also?
Even more so, and particularly for the boys in the middle. It was obvious Canberra were trying to come down the middle. That's where they got us last time, and they did a great job, I thought, tonight. I thought Josh had started really well, but it put a bit more pressure on, and the boys responded very nicely. I was very pleased with all but the last 10 minutes.
Were you excited about the performance of your halves, Walsh and Mullen, together for the first time?
Yeah, excited, but also, there's plenty of things there for us to work on, but they're a talented pair, and they're in their giving themselves their secret handshakes and all that sort of stuff. There's a bit of garbage, you know, that those blokes carry on with. But well, it's a tradition. There's been a lot of halfbacks at Newcastle, or two of them I can think of anyway, that used to carry on with all that stuff, which made them feel like they were a bit special. And I think they have the potential to be pretty good players.
The senior players stood up tonight.
I thought so, yeah. And that man Buderus did it again. Some of the stuff he did, you know, after 200 games and all the stuff that he's had to handle, highs and lows, even in the last few weeks. The disappointment that Danny felt from New South Wales not competing in the third Origin, you know, for it to be a decider again coming up was mammoth. You have to know the guy to register and understand his disappointment, but he put it aside. That's the mark of a real club man. He put it all aside. His training yesterday was exemplary. He was ready to go, and he carried it out there on the field. And he would have played the 80 out, only that I took him off in the last few minutes. So he'll probably be having a word with me about that, I guess.
Adam, do the players think about him playing his 200th, and is there any extra effort from the boys in that, or is it just something that you take in your stride?
No, it was pretty special when Bedsy come back from Origin, and as Smitty said, he was a little bit down, and one of the positives was that he was going to play his 200th, and we sort of mentioned it a few times during the week, and then yesterday before training and after training, and then again today, and the boys really lifted. And Bedsy loves the club, and all the boys love playing with him, and it makes it even more special when he makes his 200th when we get a win for him.
Outside of that though, Brian, if you would have lost tonight, you would have slipped 2 points out of 8th position. Did that add to the pressure tonight?
I think there's pretty much going to be pressure on all season long for us as a team. We've had guys retire and leave. We've got a string of injuries of experienced players. There's hardly a player left from that team that played in the semi-final last year, or the playoff game last season. I think there's only 3 or 4 or 5 of them maybe left. We've had a huge turnover and so many young guys in the team. So expectations, not sure. I'm just grateful when we get a win.
Brian, you've been doing this for a long time. You get beat by 50, Parramatta get lapped by Canberra. Things are changing from 5 days to 6 days. Is it the most bizarre season you can remember?
Oh no, I don't think so. I think this has been going on for a bit, but I agree it is bizarre. I don't know how on earth you guys go with your tipping comps. Some people, I actually had a couple of bloke who I used to teach with send me a text message this morning saying, for God's sake, win or I'll have none in my tipping comp. So he stayed loyal anyway after all these years, my mate TF. But it probably proves a couple of things. Is when a team is red hot, like Parramatta were a couple of weeks ago, it's almost impossible unless you're just as red hot as they are. It's very tough to beat anybody when they're in that sort of form. But then again, when you're just off a little bit, you can get your tail smacked. And if you happen to be well off, like we've been a couple of times this year, well, you do get lapped. But that's the rules of the game.
There he is, Brian Smith. Thanks for that. And in his 21 years of coaching, I'm sure he's seen some of the bizarre times. And well, trying to pick the form it's outrageously hard.
I think what he's talking about too is the fact that the salary cap really is biting, and it's evened out the competition enormously. We've spoken about that over recent years, but it means that you can't stockpile players nowadays. We're seeing the number of players that are changing clubs over the last 6 weeks as a result of clubs trying to shore up their salary cap, trying to fill holes. Yep. But it's all to do with the salary cap and the fact that it is evening out the competition. Yeah, I think one thing worth mentioning, and we touched on it in the pre-game show, and that's Buderus played his 200th, Hindmarsh played his 200th over the weekend, both backing up from Origin. But when you look at it and go through the Origin players, the players for Melbourne, the players for Brisbane, Jared Hayne, look, all of them, they were sensational and showed just why they do play Origin.
That's right, because they can back up and they can do it again. They can play 2 games a week if they wanted to. That's the style of player they are. They can last the distance. They're durable, as we've seen with Danny Buderus. But I've got to say, from my personal point of view, and seeing Brian there and seeing Adam Woolnough there, I've got nothing against Adam Woolnough, but to me, he's not the captain. I'd like to see Danny Buderus. Maybe he was injured or whatever the case would be, but for his 200th game, I would have liked to see him ask some questions about how he felt and how the game went. And he got player of the day. I thought he was exceptional, and That's just my thoughts.
Okay.
Thanks for backing me up.
Danny Buderus. I would have liked to.
No, you guys are
not going to hold it against him for not turning up. It's time for our final break on the post-game show. That's the fourth crazy thing you said. We'll come back to wrap up round 14 of the Telstra Premiership. Welcome back to the post-game show. Danny Buderus, our Bundaberg Rum man of the match, New South Wales and Newcastle captain, certainly the man of the moment and a favourite at Energy Australia Stadium. Just such an inspirational leader and led the Knights well tonight in their 22-18 victory over the Canberra Raiders, and the Knights now jumping into 7th spot.
A Fox Sports production for the National Rugby League Partnership.
Next week up in Brisbane, next Friday week I think it is, there's a big State of Origin boxing night happening in Brisbane. We've got a precursor tonight. We've got in the ring Jimmy Goddard and Matt Seers, two of former State of Origin players. The boxing ring is set up. Mario's going to be the referee. And boys, they can't... Bit of bad blood there. They can't wait to get stuck into it. That is coming on very, very shortly. Of course, Jimmy Goddard is extremely famous for one particular punch he put on about 10 years ago in a State of Origin game. Here's the scrum. There's a big blow-up. Tom Radonica's coaching the Blues. And I was coaching and the Maroons. Jimmy Goddard just hammering Joey. And
Joey. That was the cattle dog call.
Excellent stuff there from Jimmy.
And then Joey goes back for another serve.
He jumps around.
And whoop, see you night. Oh,
whoosh car.
Yeah.
So we can expect a bit of that from Jimmy Goddard in the ring tonight. And he's hammered, got hammered. How good was it?
I'm not laughing because that happens to the best. Some guys, that just happens.
Well, Matt Seers, of course, had a great Origin career as well, and he was a very good player for Norths, and he was a free-running fullback, scored plenty of tries, plenty of speed.
Electric up the middle.
I'm not sure how he goes in the ring with the hands.
I fear for him tonight.
Yeah, Jimmy could be the favourite.
He goes good in the ring.
That'd be quick.
Because we've all done this before here in the Footy Show. A few years ago, we took on some guys who were heading to the Olympics or some Commonwealth Games, whatever. And the chief got in the ring first, and he didn't go that well, the chef. There he is, taking on. He give the guy one, and the bloke just goes, "See you later, chef."
I was crook all the next day. That's an outrage. I had a severe case of leather poisoning. I had leather in my mouth, up my nose.
Knees buckled.
Everything buckled.
Mate, you were lucky though, Chief, because we sent Fatty in after that, mate, and he really squared the ledger. Fatty, I mean, look at how good he went.
Very unique style.
Fatty, Mayweather. You got knocked up from running backwards.
I had nothing. I can't. Anyway.
And the latest. Matty, I was just talking to Gerard Daffy at Lassiter's, and there's a lot of money on late for Matty Seers and on the fight. Matty Seers is into 10,000 to 1, and Jamie Goddard betting suspended. So I really fear for Matty Seers.
Big recruitment drive last couple of weeks in Newcastle. Are there any more Dragons that you can sign?
I think we've got 3 now, but Newcastle, we're still out there in the market.
Chris Houston, he's
a good player, tall and rangy, and fits the bill what Newcastle's after. But for the first time in a long time, Newcastle do have some money in that salary cap to chase players for next year. I think it might be the last Dragons player they'd beat, to tell the truth.
Some other injuries taking place around the teams now. Brad Tighe, an AC shoulder joint problem, 1 to 2 weeks there. We have Daniel Tolo with a hamstring strain, that is 2 to 3 weeks, and Chris Bailey, a knee problem, that also 2 to 3 weeks. So Newcastle struggled out of that game with the Gold Coast Titans.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Bossy. Let's go.
Do it again, Jack.
But it's a Johns,
that's
but it's
cool.
not Matty Johns.
Jack, that was
Wonderful
really cool.
television.
That's gold. You probably just won the family an Xbox. You really you shouldn't have done that, mate, but good job. Actually, he could probably host the Today Show. What do you reckon?
Hey, Carl.
Did a pretty good
Carl.
job. He's got that bit of a Carl look about him anyway. Carl's over in Monaco at the moment. Good job, young fella. Now, last night, boys, Titans versus Knights, and we're going to discuss it a little later, but Adam Woolnough, Matty Peterson, you love this sort of stuff, MG, nearly erupted.
Yeah, the sideshow Bob, here he goes. He come in and all of a sudden Adam Woolnough, who's Penrith bound. Bit of a skirmish. In come the cavalry, Sergeant one. In comes Michale. The boys are getting angry. We like to see this. There's nothing, no harm, no foul. Just letting off a bit of steam.
And it's not bad stuff. Look at
Nah,
that. The boys just throwing a couple there.
Bit of good fun. Sideshow through the first hook with the elbow.
Don't you think Luke Bailey looks like a fit Michael Wayman?
He does a little bit.
Apparently they call him Wayman.
Really?
Yeah. Looks like Michael Wayman that's fell asleep in a sauna for about 3 years. Now, listen, we're going to go to a break now, but as we go to the break, just take a look at some of this vision. This is some fights over the years, and at the very end, have a look at this. Gus Gould versus Steve Blocker-Roche, one of the biggest mismatches you'll ever see.
Nicknamed Sideshow Bob, Gold Coast Matt Peterson took centre stage, claiming the Titans' first hat-trick of tries in their 6-point win over Newcastle, plus putting Matt Rogers over. Rogers denying the Knights' chance to level the scores in the dying seconds.
Try-saving tackle!
The Storm are now outright leaders on 26 points, while the Cowboys remain on 18, at least for now, with Brisbane and the Tigers to play tomorrow night. Andrew McKinlay, National 9 News.
Hello and welcome to Nine's Friday Night Football for the clash between the Newcastle Knights and the South Sydney Rabbitohs. What an atmosphere here. I tell you what, these two proud clubs have got a lot in common. I tell you what it is, it's these supporters here. Good working class people who not only love the game of rugby league but just support their club no matter what. Now in 2000 the South Sydney Rabbitohs were kicked out of the competition, and I can tell you, thousands of these Novocastrians from Cessnock and Maitland and Dungog and Curry jumped on trains and buses and joined the marches in Sydney to reinstate the Rabbitohs. And I can tell you the Rabbitohs faithful have never forgot about it. The other thing they got in common are players. Two of the greatest Rabbitohs are also Novocastrians. The little master, Clive Churchill, he grew up at Hamilton South, just 2 minutes away, while legendary tough man Johnny Sattler grew up 25 minutes in that direction at the tough town of Curry. Anyone from Curry? Security. Okay, we're going to preview the game. Everyone's excited about this one. Here's Peter Sterling and Phil Gould.
Thank you, Matt. The prodigal son returns. They still love him up here. And as we expected, round 16, just 10 weeks out from finals football, a real traffic jam in the middle of the premiership competition ladder. These sides are involved. We've got Newcastle in 7th on 16 points, just 2 behind them, but back in 12th are the South Sydney Rabbits, who tonight meet Newcastle at the best possible time. Gus, no Buderus, Simpson or Gidley. How do you see tonight?
Yeah, it's an important one for both sides. Now, if the results go a certain way this weekend, come Tuesday morning, we could have as many as 7 or 8 teams on 16 points. For and against is going to play a big part, and with Newcastle having the worst for and against in the competition, they desperately need to win games and put a space between them and the other teams. Thank you, Peter. Been looking forward to this one all week. The South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Newcastle Knights, two very popular teams with very passionate fans. Now, the player that took over from Andrew Johns in the number 7 jersey was always going to do it tough, but he would have done it tougher if he had been from out of town. If he had been someone they bought from another club, he'd have had to get the feel of the Knights, and the Knights fans would be saying, well, do we really like this bloke? He's not like Joey. What makes it easier is that in Luke Walsh and Jared Mullen, they've got a couple of local juniors, kids that have grown up here, that have followed in the footsteps of Andrew Johns, and these fans are really cheering for them. And that makes a big difference when you're trying to get over the loss of a legend. The fans here are so important to these players. And you know why? I want you to go down to the end of the ground and have a look at a couple sitting up on the hill that were here. This afternoon, Andrew Voss and I got here for the Arrive Alive Cup at 3 o'clock. When the gates open at 3:15, Those two were the first two in the gate. No, you're not young. They're in they're in their middle age. I'll say that. You can't see them there. They're all rugged up, but they were the first ones here, under their sheet, ready for the rain, ready for the cold. Just wanted to see their team play. They've probably been here for years. They've probably seen Mullen and Walsh come through the grades, and they're going to be here cheering for him tonight. That's the power of this Newcastle club and the Newcastle fans. This should be an absolute beauty tonight. I think it'll be close too. We'll be back after the break with all the action here. Friday Night Football on Channel 9. Ray Warren is next.
Yeah, thank you, Vossi, and I'm joined by the mad dog Adam MacDougall and Dukes. Just had a little 5-minute lapse in the second half, cost us.
Yeah, mate, very disappointing. Obviously a young side, mate, so it's a good experience for the guys.
Now, what, mate, you come here with no love lost between you and the Rabbitohs a little bit at the end of last year, and, mate, strong performance for you personally. You weren't happy with your game individually?
Yeah, mate, it was good to get back in the centres and get a bit of ball, so just enjoyed it tonight, mate.
Now, Dukes, I've known you for a while, and, mate, I run into your lovely wife today at a cafe, and she said, watch for Adam's post-try celebrations. Mate, it was a beauty. I mean, we're trying to interpret it. What was it there, pal?
I'll leave it to the imagination.
Yeah, well done, Dukes. Mate, well done to you, Dags. Great year.
And you can see how Newcastle have taken that defeat. Their heads are down. Brian Smith, he'll have them back up. They're enjoying a reasonable season. We'll take a break. Back with more at Energy Australia in just a moment.
In the other dressing room, we saw a lot of disappointment before the break, and this is the young Newcastle Knights with their heads down. But I was interested in the reaction here of Brian Smith, who came across, and he was talking to them. Then he started to look at them and shake his hands a little bit, and I don't think this season is about disappointment. He would like the players to get their heads up. They shouldn't be disappointed at any stage. You know, disappointed they lose, but not disappointed in their effort or where they're going. He'll actually point to them now and say, I don't want this. I don't want heads down. I don't want heads down off the field. I don't want heads down on the field. That's what we've got to learn to do when we make mistakes. And that's how I said an experienced coach counselling a narrow loss like that, they don't need to feel down about their effort. They were terrific tonight.
No, the effort was fantastic. As we pointed out, 36 players they've used in the top grade. That is a huge turnover, the most in the NRL. The benefits will come down the track. Let's go back down to the sheds and get an injury update from Andrew Voss.
Yeah, thanks, Cello. It's been a great night of football here, and I know the crowd. It's a good one given the conditions as well. Everyone's enjoyed it. Now, just on the injury front, just outside the Newcastle room, we saw Corey Patterson struggling with that shoulder problem early in the second half, but the news was it was actually a quad injury that forced him from the field in the end. Knights to play Parramatta on Monday week. That's a big one with Brian Smith coming up against the Eels and Michael Hagan against the Newcastle Knights.
Souths are back in the top 8 for the first time in 6 weeks after a come-from-behind victory over Newcastle. The Knights still wondering where it all went wrong as they'd let a 12-point lead slip late in the match.
Long faces and sore bodies in the Newcastle room after a game that got away.
I don't like losing in those circumstances. In my opinion, we were the better team for most of the game, and don't take it lightly. It pisses me off.
The Knights clinging to a lead late in the second half when rookie replacement Isaac Luke put Roy Asatasi in under the posts.
This is how you go about it. Asatasi! What are you doing there, Roy?
They're flukes, all of them are flukes. Everything I do are flukes.
Nothing fluky about the match winner though, Ben Rogers crossing to break Newcastle hearts.
Rogers will score! Rogers is over!
It's one of our set plays, and Adam MacDougall come rushing in, and it's just a set play. Opened up the back door and it's too easy.
The Bunnies hopping 12 clear after as many minutes, but the Knights replied through Adam MacDougall in his 100th game for the club. The post-try celebration a far from subtle local call to Souths owner Russell Crowe.
There it is.
Newcastle piling on 24 unanswered points until Jeremy Smith's intercept gave Souths a timely spark.
Had a feeling I might shift it there, and then when he threw it, I guess I was just grateful in the right position, right time.
It's a tough school, the NRL, and these young guys, it's an invaluable experience for them, and hopefully the taste that's been left in their mouth after such a disappointing loss will hopefully motivate them to better things.
It was South's third win from their past 4 games, but competition leaders Melbourne await.
Last night, sore heads and sheer disappointment draped the Newcastle dressing room, and the Rabbitohs were a pumped lot. This was a game featuring 2 teams as desperate as each other. Souths got out to a 12-0 lead. before an Origin-weakened opponent fought back.
Walsh is there, under MacDougall. MacDougall's over to get the try.
The post-try celebration was a real dig. After falling out with South's new owners last year, MacDougall turned movie star on a teammate.
Hey, it's a little bit cheeky.
Oh, mate, very artistic post-try celebration, so I'll leave it to the fans to interpret whatever they want from it.
The bad calls went both ways. Newcastle got away with this as Patterson hit the ball.
It's gone forward.
But they were denied more points when there was no downward pressure from MacDougall. Replay suggested otherwise. It shouldn't have mattered, but Newcastle fell apart. For most of the game, they had been the better team, only to lose it in the final 5. Later, the Rabbitohs rammed home their 3-point win, and the Knights coach made his feelings clear.
It pisses me off.
I saw a star on Friday night, I think, in the making, Jesse Royale. Is it
Yeah,
Royale?
Royale. He's not young. He's not as young as what you think. I think he's about 26, 27.
Well, again,
been around a while. He was that better.
Brian Smith done some really good interchange on Friday night. He brought off Sargent, who was playing quite well, and brought over the 3 young blokes, Big Snowden, Mike Young,
Cade.
and they made an immediate impact.
Talking about the Knights, I mean, I know they lost the other night and they were disappointed, but geez, there's some good signs there at the moment. I mean, you put Buderus, Simpson and Gidley back into that side straight away.
Would have won.
But I think there's some really good signs up there.
Boys, can I just give you a nice story about Brian Smith, right?
Where you go?
I went in the sheds after the game. Very tense. It was a game they should have won. They were up 12 and he looked disappointed, you know. And all the boys are sitting around the room and you know, it's like when you're in there, boys, you're a little bit embarrassed to be there because you think, oh, where's this going to go?
Can't wait to get out of there.
And Brian walked in and he sat there, he looked around to the boys and it was a sign of an experienced coach and he went, oh, boys, before I forget, Cooper Vuna, become a father overnight. Everybody put your hands together for Cooper Vuna. All the boys give him a big clap. He said, good on you, mate. You know, it's fantastic, blah, blah. And that was it.
Broke the tension.
And I thought, you know what? I didn't expect that from Brian Smith.
That's a good one.
I didn't expect that from Brian Smith.
Way out of the blue.
It was a nice touch.
Now, you've given us a nice story. Now we go.
We're going to segue here.
Now we go to the negative. I mean, what have you done to Adam MacDougall? You got him in a heap of trouble because they're saying you are responsible for his post-try celebration. And talking about Cooper Vuna, was he aware that he was going to play the part of the desk clerk being hit by the phone in the Adam MacDougall post-try celebration? Have a look at it if you missed it on Friday night. This is meant to be a send-up of Russell Crowe. Throws it at Cooper Vuna's hand.
Yes.
Did Cooper know that?
Cricket bounced back.
Is that best supporting actor in a post-try celebration, Cooper Vuna?
It could be.
Now, you're responsible for that? Did you encourage him to do that?
No, I did not.
Well,
what happened?
The paper says, must
I had a sign of Matty Johns about it.
Well, hang on, I'll go to the Sunday Telegraph. It says you were responsible. It says you were guilty. I'll find it. I'll get back to you. You talk about it. I'll get back to you.
What happened that day, I went and had a coffee with a great mate of mine, Stephen Crowe.
Hang on, I'll get you now. Sunday Telegraph. It doesn't say who wrote it, but it doesn't matter. Newcastle said Adam MacDougall has revealed a chat with former teammate, the bad man of rugby league, Matthew Johns, was behind his Russell Crowe-inspired post-try celebration. Even your missus gets a mention. She's responsible too.
My wife, Trish.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, MacDougall. Oh, no, hang on. No, hang on. MacDougall's wife told Johns. Sorry, Adam's wife.
That's what I was getting to. The story. I'm having coffee with Crowe and I see Dukes' wife. And I say, hey,
which
Belinda,
Crowe?
how are you?
Crowe?
Stephen Crowe.
Not Russell Crowe.
No.
Well picked up, guys.
And he walks up and the Wok was there and a few at the cafe. Warren Ryan. Warren Ryan, Craig Hamilton, ABC boy. Next minute, Belinda MacDougall walks in. Hello, darling, how you going? How's Dukes? She goes, oh, you should see. Dukes has got a special post-try celebration. Make sure they keep the cameras on him. And I told you, of course, it'd be irresponsible. I did, and it was good entertainment. Russell wouldn't mind.
It costs the Knights the game. South got all fired up. Russell said, be damned with them on my command and all that sort of stuff.
Russell, you get a call through the week.
What's who from?
Oh, Matty.
Yes.
Matty. What's that all about?
I'd say,
What'd you do that for?
I'd say, Russell, look, you know, I'd like Pontius Pilate. I'm going to wipe my hands of the whole situation. Was it Pontius Pilate?
I don't care. Now, listen, I want to race Peter Sterling. Right now, this has been the worst thing of the weekend. On Friday night, young Michael Young was involved in an incident. Look, he's just doing his job. He was called up to hold the ball for Corey Patterson, and Sterling said in comment, bagged him because he went to the wrong side. Innocently walked up and was going to stand on the left side of the ball and get kicked in the head on the way through.
Yep.
Now,
Sterling,
how dare you? Because 20 years ago, has Sterling forgotten? He goes left, he goes right,
mate,
he goes back left and then goes back right. See that?
The way
that bloke's almost an immortal, Peter Sterling, and here he is bagging Michael Young.
I tell you, I got real concerns. The way he was hovering behind Mick Cronin.
Yeah, there was a bit of.
Old habits die hard, I'll tell you guys.
Number 15 still.
Do it again.
Once again.
One.
Okay, and it's like watching one of those bulls in the paddock. They just see, mate, it's true story. I'll tell you a story, right? This is a true story.
Hang on, just explain. Is that
No, don't explain.
No,
Don't explain. Mate, there is a story. Right? This is fair dinkum. When I was a young bloke, right? This is fair dinkum. My pop used to say to me, he had pigs in the backyard, and when the pigs used to go,
whisper this to me first. I want to know what you're going to say.
And the pigs used to put their nose in the trough, and at the same time there was an old goat, and he used to try it anyway. And it was my job to separate the goats and the pigs. And anyway, but that's what I think Sturlo was trying to say. Anyway.
Okay.
And he used to say, Matty, watch out. And the old goat used to go, and he used to line up, and I used to have to sort of in the mud and stand in between them.
Wait, can we just check over
Billy the goat.
By the way, in case you're tuning into the show for the first time, this is the Sunday Roast. We're a rugby league program where we debate and discuss the big issues in rugby league. Now, an email here from a bloke by the name of Halil Mustafa. Sorry to make you... But you I'm telling you, mate.
And he used to say, Matty.
No,
he kept, and I used to say, what would happen
we've
anyway?
Heard the story. There's no point to it. There's no point to it at all.
Come on.
Sassy's not.
There's an incident on Friday night, 4 minutes and 9 seconds into the second half, where I'll set it up first from Halil Mustafa. He says, can someone please explain how this official is not sacked on the spot and banned from refereeing for life for missing that dummy half?
Who was it, Chicken?
With 1 foot. It was Matt Chicken.
It was a Chicken.
Is that too severe to ban him for life for missing that?
No, but you need to kick up the bum. I mean, that was blatant. He was right there in front of him. He should have been able to pick that up.
Right. But let's not ban him for life.
No, not for life. No, but at least a week.
Maybe the stocks in Martin Place we can put him there.
Weekend detention. I think it's probably
weekend for how long? 3 months or
forever? As long as Wes is there.
They still do public stonings in Pakistan. They do that sort of thing.
So, hello, I think it's a bit heavy, but well picked up, well spotted.
Who was the linesman?
That was Matt Chicken.
That was the linesman Andrew Johns got suspended for because he missed that call.
I always see Matt Chicken Friday nights, and he always does to me. And he's a good bloke, Matt Chicken, but he always looks at me and gives me he gives me a little wink and goes, how are you, mate? And I say, oh, mate. Yeah, mate. We got a bit of history together, me and Chicken. We've been abused by Andrew Johns, both of us, numerous times.
Okay. That's the end of this segment. Sadly, it's been put to rest. In fact, they've drawn the white curtain around and pulled out a shotgun and just put a few into it. So we'll come back with a third segment after the break.
There's the hooter. Newcastle have won it. Newcastle are the premiers. Second time in history. 30 points to 24.
Well, the Knights were underdogs in the 2001 Grand Final and their coach was a rookie, but Newcastle and Michael Hagan both finished up as winners. It was a tough loss for Brian Smith, obviously, and the Eels to take after they had stormed their way through the minor premiership. And now, 6 years later, the two coaches clash once again, but this time they're on opposite sides of the fence, of course. What about Eels or Knights for you, James?
Oh, look, I'm a big Brian Smith fan, and I think he's had a very tough year. He's had a lot of challenges. His best player in the world has left him, and you know, he's had to make some hard calls because he's rebuilding the club. Really, and you've always got to make some tough calls. I think you know throughout rugby league history, all the strong coaches have always made tough calls when they're trying to rebuild a club, and so he's in that phase of doing that. And you know, he's had his critics, but he's also got a lot of people behind him as well. I'm one of them. I hope they can come up and win this against the Eels.
And had you said at the start of the season they wouldn't have Andrew Johns at all for a game and a bit in 2007, and you said, look, they'll at this stage with 9 rounds to go have almost won as many as they've lost, most people would have said, no, I don't think so. They'll lose plenty more. So they've done pretty well to be 7 wins out of 15 games so far.
Yeah, I think so, and I think he's good at keeping his team positive, and that, you know, it's just so close, so tight, this competition. You know, a couple of wins here or there, and you don't know what they could make some real damage come semi-final time.
OK, that's our thoughts on the Eels and the Knights. They will take another break and then we'll run through this weekend's games.
The boys from the Hunter are about to become the hunted. The Stars return to the night sky for Monday Night Football. Parramatta take on Newcastle, live and exclusive.
I tell you what, you won't see better than that.
Could Smith's inside information turn the tide on the Eels, or will Hagan make it a night to remember? Parramatta versus Newcastle. Go mad for it. Monday Night Football is live from 6, exclusive to Fox Sports 3.
And tonight we're starting off the first night. We've got Milton Thaiday taking on Liam Campbell from Penrith. It's the big one, and it's going to be fantastic.
Newcastle versus Panthers.
They all can sing. You wait till you hear this song. I heard it in practice. You're going to knock your pants off.
Which
it's
one?
Great.
The boys are a little nervous. One of them had his head in a bucket. The other one was in the toilet. But, you know, they'll be all right once they get out here, boys. All right, now, last night's game was so good, and we got all the passion after the game from the sheds with Timmy Gilbert and Benny Eichen.
The Blues have won State of Origin 3.
I was absolutely devastated last game to lose that because I knew what was coming. I just get bashed from pillar to post. But, you know, that's a very rewarding win, especially up here. And we dug deep. Queensland were really coming home. It was going to be one of those finishes. But, you know, very proud of tonight's effort.
Excellent. Welcome back to the show. Showstoppers, we've just started it. Boys, Liam was outstanding. How good was he?
Well, I don't pretend to be any sort of Richard Wilkins, but that was terrific. That's fantastic.
A quarter and a half. I tell you what, it's all about the mood. I was just amazed how this young bloke took it from the Origin talk, did this just wonderful... It blew me out of the water. In fact, Bernard King would be so impressed with it. It was just fantastic.
Is he related to Bernard King?
Is someone winding me up?
Please.
Wind him up.
No, he's a good young fella who's got a young family, and that's great to see him. That takes a lot of guts to come and do that.
You've seen him play. He's a good young winger.
Yeah, he's
out
up and comer.
Yeah.
Yep, he's going
to
to
play first grade one day.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure.
You haven't seen him play.
In fact, can I just say this? There was a lot of feeling in that song. Milton Thaiday has got soul. I mean, it's just crisp. It's like a latte. It's just a creamy latte going down.
Give the Panther kid a go.
No, mate, he's as good as it gets. I'm just saying.
Our second showstopper tonight is Milton Thaiday. He's a very handy player, an exciting fullback. He's out injured at the moment. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
All right. He's got a beautiful voice as well. Went well in the auditions. Let's see how he has warmed up over the last week.
I'm Milton Thaiday from the Newcastle Knights. I enjoy playing footy because it's always been a dream of mine to play, or anybody's dream to play top level footy. And singing, it's just a natural thing to me. Yeah, I've been practicing. I practice nearly every day. Since the audition, I've been blasting it in the car, going to training. Yeah, every now and then I'll pull out the guitar and try and play something just to warm my voice up. I'll be over the moon if I get through it. Everybody I see, in the team, they're saying, you're going to go really good. You don't worry, you'll be right. Don't think too much.
Bros, you're lucky you can sing because you cannot play the PlayStation.
Yeah, if I were to win, I think I'd have more confidence in myself, and be able to go out and possibly do a recording with my old man. So yeah, it'll help me out a lot of it.
Here he goes, the Big Footy Show. Welcome, Milton Thaiday singing the Lionel Ritchie classic. And what a great song, Stuck on You, Milton Thaiday.
Stuck on you, got this feeling down deep in my soul that I just can't lose. Guess I'm on my way. Needed a friend, and the way I feel now, I guess I'll be with you till the end. Guess I'm on my way. I'm mighty glad you stayed. Oh, I'm leaving on that midnight train tomorrow, and I know just where I'm going. I packed up my troubles and I've thrown them all away. 'Cause this time, little darling, I'm coming home to stay. I'm stuck on you, been a guess it's time for me to come on home. Guess I'm on my way. It's so hard to see that a woman like you can wait around for a man like me. Guess I'm on my way. I'm mighty glad you stayed.
Very nice, Milton. Very nice, mate. Excellent work. Loved it. Once again, I thought you were very, very good. Belinda, what did you think?
Well, I think you're a natural singer, definitely, with heaps of potential. With heaps and heaps of potential, so keep it up. Well done.
All right, thanks, Belinda. The heart pumping in,
Mate, yeah, look, your dad's a fine singer and that obviously runs in the family. The singing was great, nice song, Lionel Ritchie song, the band played well, you sung it really well. I'd just like to see, as a small criticism, some of the excitement that you put on the field to maybe into your performance, to look as if you enjoyed it a bit more and belt it out a bit more and communicate with the camera and the audience. But, mate, you're a terrific talent. You could well have a musical career after footy. Well done.
Thanks so much, Richard. Well, once again, very nice comments there, but it's up to you at home. Now you can go to the phone lines and you can judge. Milton sang a beautiful song there. He's got a magnificent repertoire. If he comes back later in the series, can we expect you've got a lot more songs you can sing?
A few more there.
He's got a few more up his sleeve, and you just go to that number, 1995 991, SMS that, or call 1902 554 991. And you can decide now who you thought was the better. Was it Liam or was it Milton? No, both. Boys, to be honest, I don't know if I couldn't choose.
I have no doubts that we, as far as the sporting code is concerned, we are the most talented in Australia. It's amazing. Easily.
Have you seen those softballers?
I've seen the softballers go around, the basketballers, badminton, everything. We've got it.
All right. That was unbelievable. Milton, thanks very much, mate. You killed it. Excellent. Please thank Milton Thaiday for us. Richard, Belinda, you're stars. Thanks very much. We'll see you next week. And just to round out the round, and it's a pretty exciting round, isn't it?
Great round.
All good games. The Eels, and they take on the Knights on Monday Night Footy, Parramatta Stadium. The Eels in great form at the moment.
The Knights have had two devastatingly close losses. I mean, really, really close. They're hanging in there. They've got a lot of their good players back. But I tell you what, the last 20 years, we haven't won too many games at Parramatta Stadium. It's been a tough hunting ground for us.
You've got to say the big factor this week, the Pasha Bulkers, but left the shores. I think the boys are going to dig deep for the Pasha.
Yeah.
The captain is the captain of the Pasha Bulker.
Mate, never been seen again.
Never been seen again.
Walked off and a couple of the blokes and never been seen again.
Still walking.
He got Don.
We should get him on the show.
I really think they're the dark horse, Parramatta. They're the dark horse.
Yeah. Terrific.
Really, they've been in this game, obviously, because of the two coaches swapping mid-season, adds a bit more intrigue to the game. So,
plenty of boys, what about Jared Hayne? How good's he? Hey, what a freak!
Yeah, he's a freak.
But you're calling that game, Triple M Footy, doing a great job on Monday night.
Thanks, mate.
Excellent work. Yeah, all right. You'll listen to that on radio on Triple M.
Now, I thought Gus would ask you about State of Origin number 3 from Wednesday night. Your thoughts? In fact, we don't need to hear your thoughts because we've got your answer here on tape. Let's hear what Gus thought about the match.
Unbelievable. Stop it!
Thank you, Gus. Unbelievable.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought Queensland were very, very courageous. I thought New South Wales had their measure from fairly early on in the game. I thought we were playing our best game of the series. But when the injuries took place, I expected Queensland to drop off pretty quickly, and New South Wales took a long time to put them to bed, and a lot of that had to do with the Queensland courage. It wasn't until the final 12 minutes of the game that we finally got Buderus and Gidley on the field at the same time together, and we produced 2 tries in the last 10 minutes to put it to bed. If Buderus and Gidley had been on the field together in game 1, we'd have won that one. If Buderus and Gidley had been on the field at the same time together in game 3, before half-time, we'd have won that game by 30 points.
Yeah, I thought it was a real waste putting Gidley to hooker. He spent all his energy, number 1, defending, but number 2, just running to get to the back of the ruck all the time. And when you're not used to playing hooker, you don't know where the shortcuts are. Yeah, you're burning a lot of unnecessary fuel. Like the hookers, sometimes you just see them idle across the park. Cameron Smith's a genius at it.
Sunday roast, and that is well, we think it's 70 videos. I think they're selling for about $60. Welcome back to the Sunday roast, 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's a good promo for it. Sharks v Bulldogs. There you go, and they pull apart. Can we get a shot of that? There we go.
Look, there you go. Steel studs.
Yeah. There we go.
Safety standards.
That was the type of stud. That was the type of stud the touch judge wore when he done Wolford's head.
Now that will be on the Today Show tomorrow. They'll be talking about the peril for kids. Now
so
listen, if we get sued for that, again, it's Gus's fault.
It's the Eels and the Knights on Monday Night Football.
Round 17 of Monday Night Football is live from Parramatta Stadium, and there's plenty of spice in this one as Brian Smith returns to Parramatta for the first time since his 10-year reign as the Eels coach, and he's up against the former Knights coach in Michael Hagan, who of course led Newcastle to a grand final win over the Eels back in 2001, and it's umbrellas and raincoats out at Parramatta Stadium. G'day everyone, welcome to Fox Sports' continuing coverage of the Telstra Premiership.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. It is cool and of course wet and windy out here at Parramatta. Global warming has been an issue in recent times, but it certainly won't be for our sideline eye, who is of course wearing his thermals. That's Andy Raymond.
Warren, it is cold and wet, but I'm not silly. I'm undercover and out the back here of Parramatta Stadium, where for the past 10 years, Brian Smith has made this very walk. And for 10 years, he went that way to the Parramatta home dressing room. For the first time tonight, he heads back behind me to the away dressing room. It's quite a script, isn't it? After a decade here at Parramatta, Brian Smith is now the coach of Newcastle. He replaced Michael Hagan, who was there for 6 years. Tonight, he is in the home dressing room. Two great coaches, two very astute football judges, but with very different football sides. Let's take a look at how both these sides will take the field tonight. And for the Parramatta Eels, Tamana Tahu, as you heard, remains out with a hamstring injury. They are showing a lot of caution over Tahu. They're expecting him to be back next week, but it's 2 periods this year Tamana has missed extended stints on the field with his hamstring injury. Finch and Smith are the halves again. Josh Cordoba remains the starting prop in place of the injured Nathan Kalis. Nathan Hindmarsh is the captain at the back, and the bench is Marsh, Ian Hindmarsh, Feliti Mateo and Aaron Cannings. Of course, Krishna Nanu in for Tamana Tahu. For the Newcastle Knights, Jared Mullen is out. Daniel Abraham shifts to the 5'8" position. Corey Patterson moves back to the bench. Smart ploy by Brian Smith tonight. Into the second row is Zeb Taya, a player that was signed by the Parramatta Eels just a couple of weeks ago. So the bench now reads Patterson, Young, Royal, Cade, Snowden, and of course the coach is Brian Smith. So further injury disruptions to the Newcastle Knights. Jared Mullen out tonight. They have used 36 players so far this year. It's the most of any NRL club. The Parramatta Eels have used 23 only. Injury has been kind. Over the course of the next hour, we'll speak to both captains, we'll speak to both coaches, and boys, get that bell ready. It is going to get some use tonight. Enjoy. Kickoff is in just a little over an hour.
Let's head back to Parramatta Stadium, where the Eels coach Michael Hagan is standing by with Andy Raymond.
Michael, is it just another game for the two coaches, or does this one mean a little bit more tonight?
I think it's at that stage where a fair bit's been said and written about all that, but in the end, we're here to play a game of footy and hopefully get 2 points, and looking forward to it.
Has Newcastle's footy changed a great deal since you left?
I think that, the makeup of their team has changed a fair bit with, some of the younger players coming in this year and doing a pretty good job for them. And I guess, the style in which they played has changed as well, but, there's still some very key players that are still playing as well as they ever had, and they're the guys that we've got to work hard on tonight.
OK, let's talk Parramatta Eels. What part of the side and the way they're playing footy are you most happy with at the moment?
I think, we're working together as a unit pretty well. Defensively, I think we're working hard for each other. We've got some talent in our team and some guys that are creative as well. So I think we've got a good balance at this stage.
OK, then, on the other side, what area are you least happy with? What needs most improvement?
I don't think there's a lot that we need to sort out other than get our best team on the field. I think Tamana Tahu will probably miss this week, and Nath Kalis will miss a game or two. So I think once we get those players back and once we've got Origin put behind us, I think we can hopefully get some more confidence and work towards the end of the season.
Conditions are average, but we hope you enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Eels coach Michael Hagan. Time for another breather. More highlights from round 17 after the break, but to take us out, here's a match Eels fans would probably rather forget some 6 years ago.
Now for Peter. Kennedy, round the decoy. Maybe a penalty. It's a try.
John Rudder.
There it again.
Heading to the uprights. Picked up by Hodgson. Hodson's over.
There's the hoot up. Newcastle have won it. Newcastle are the premiers. Second time in history.
Back to Monday Night Football. Tamana Tahu won't be putting the boots on tonight. There's Tim Smith. The injured skipper, Nathan Kalis. Michael Hagan, the coach. Pretty relaxed customer, isn't he, Mick Hagan? There's the Mad Dog. We'll see what sort of game he can produce tonight. And Adam Woolnough up front. And their inspirational skipper, Danny Buderus. Never doubt a team when Danny Buderus is in the side. Now time to head back to Paris Stadium when Newcastle coach Brian Smith is standing by with Andy Raymond.
So much has been made, Brian, of your return to Parramatta. Are we all reading far too much into it and forgetting the footballers?
Oh, yeah, that's usually what happens, but we've got to make a story up somehow, haven't we?
You know the subtleties of the Eels, but Michael knows the subtleties of the Knights. Are we reading too much into it?
Yeah, I think so. I think strengths and weaknesses of players generally remain no matter who the coach is. Perhaps with younger players, I think over a period of time they can change a bit, but you know, to be quite honest, we've got enough to deal with ourselves with our own form and our own evolvement as a team rather than worrying too much about Para. We haven't had too much talk about the opposition. We're just not good enough for that sort of stuff as yet.
What has been the focus at training this week? Has there been one or two issues in particular?
Oh, our concentration defensively is what's let us down. We've lost a couple of games that we probably should have won the last two. I think we've been good enough in the games to win them apart from those lapses where we've conceded some easy, very soft tries. I hope we don't have any of that tonight. Injury
hasn't been kind to you in 2007. I'm not sure what you've done or who you've upset, but again, it's disrupted the makeup of the side.
A bit, yeah. It's you know, we've tried not to talk about it too much, but obviously losing some senior players from our club has affected us for the whole of the season. But small disruptions and, you know, with minor injuries like for Mulle tonight missing out, those sort of things just, you know, they don't help. But hopefully the boys, I think they've shown over the last few weeks that no matter who's playing out there, they're going to have a lash for us, and we'll certainly need to do that tonight, I think.
We hope your return to Sydney's West is an enjoyable one for you.
Thanks a lot. Good on you, Andy.
Yeah, wouldn't he love a win, Brian Smith up against the Eels?
It's been billed as the grudge match of the season. The clash of the two coaches who swapped jobs was always going to be an eagerly awaited contest. Brian Smith makes his return to the scene of so many glorious triumphs and baffling failures, guiding a team that has endured more than its share of bad luck. But their finals hopes are alive, born on the back of some sparkling talent. No one expected much of the Eels this year, and early season form confirmed their fans' worst fears. But Michael Hagan has quietly steered his Chargers into the top four, and they are a formidable mix of rampant aggression and spellbinding skill.
What a try, my to Mateo to Jared Hayne.
6 years ago, these two fought a grand final with the underdog whipping the red-hot favourite. The men at the helm may have traded places, but the odds are stacked the same way. Only one will be singing the blues on Monday Night Football. The Eels and the Knights on Fox Sports.
On Monday
Monday Night Football. What a diabolical night it is again. This will be the great wet season in the NRL 2007 will be remembered as it's pouring again here in Sydney's West tonight. The Eels fans have come and they are dressed for the occasion as well. The Knights fans, they are hardy types who've made the trip down the F3 this afternoon to watch their team go around, and they'll see, of course, Brian Smith and Michael Hagan go head-to-head for the first time since swapping jobs. The last time Brian Smith came to Parramatta Stadium as anything other than an Eels coach was 1995, would you believe? Michael Hagan has slotted in very nicely at the Eels, and they come here this evening with a 9-win, 6-loss record. Cemented, of course, in the top 4 at the moment. They can go on and do that again with a win here tonight. Here's the Knights back line. First off, Gidley, McManus, Carmont, McDougall. Cooper Vuna comes into the side with Brad Ty out of action. Likewise, Daniel Abraham gets a start. Jared Mullen out with a thigh injury, and Luke Walsh is the halfback. The forward pack is Sargent, Buderus, Woolnough, Simpson. The former Eels Zeb Taylor gets a start in the second row. Regan Tanner is the lock forward. And the bench now for Newcastle is Patterson, Young, Royal and Snowden. An inexperienced bench. Corey Patterson has been a regular starter for the Knights in recent times. He's coming off the interchange bench tonight. We'll see how they fare up against what is a very slick looking Parramatta outfit. They're unrecognisable from the team who has carried all before them in recent times. The Knights, well, they've held sway here tonight. What a win for them. They're back with a 50% record, 8 wins, 8 losses after beating the Eels here. 34 points to 10 on Monday Night Football.
And thoroughly deserved. Newcastle, right from the outset, were more enthusiastic, more committed than this Parramatta team. They were very, very strong.
Mark Riddell, well, he was out there plenty of minutes, of course. In his 150th game, he won't get the celebrations he was looking for. Let's go downstairs in a moment. Andy Raymond standing by to have a chat to a couple of, I'm sure, very happy Knights. What a win for them, coming off the back of that heartbreaking loss to the Rabbitohs that have been 9-7 now. Newcastle, had they been able to hang on against the Rabbitohs just over a week ago, but they've made amends to some extent here tonight. First half effort, they scored 3 tries. They went on with the job pretty quickly in the second half after that horrendous injury to Luke Burt, who suffered a dislocated knee. We'll try and get more news about that before we go off air in our post-game show. But right now, let's go downstairs to Andy.
And Steve Simpson, 34-10. A lot of people didn't see that one coming.
No, they probably didn't, actually. So it was good to turn around last week's performance. I thought the boys went pretty well, but just couldn't finish it out. But great performance tonight, and yeah, looking forward to next week now.
With the comp so even, is it a simple case of one side turns up with the head on, the other side's not completely there, and that's what can happen?
Yeah, I probably think so. Obviously, Parramatta's come off a bye, and traditionally a little bit sluggish after that, and I think you could say they were a little bit tonight as well, but full credit to us. Took advantage of it. We've got some great young players here, and we've just got to build on it. So.
The conditions tonight, we all thought it was going to be a poor game. You guys were so disciplined, especially probably the first hour.
Yeah, we were, actually. It was great. We sort of knew we had to be. It's always a tough place to come and play here, and as long as we did that, we thought we were going to be in the game, so it was great.
In the game, you did the game. Well done, big fella. Congratulations.
Cheers, Andy. Thanks, mate.
Steve Simpson there, and our man of the match, $1,000 from Bundaberg Run. Congratulations, Danny Buderus. You're going to sleep well tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been a tough couple of months, but it's all over now and can concentrate on the Knights. And it's really good to come here tonight. We've still got an understrength team, but the boys are really putting in for each other, and we're going to win a few games.
What was the difference tonight?
I don't know. We're just going with a simple game plan. Obviously, the conditions made it pretty simple, but we're just having to dig for each other, and our game plan's coming off, and still got Jared to come back, and he'll add a bit to us as well. But I thought Daniel Abraham was great tonight as well.
Daniel Abraham at 6, a completely different footballer from Jared Mullen, but you didn't seem to lack combination or fluency.
No, that's right. Well, you got Simo hitting it there on one side and Corey Patterson on the other. So it's a pretty good attacking weapon, and if we just block the middle up, you know, we're in with the shot with a few wins.
Considering the state of the competition ladder at the moment, it was a crucial one. Sides are going to start to drop off over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. That was very important in the scheme of things, and you know, a back-to-back loss, which we've had, we couldn't afford to drop another one. So, you know, we're back and move on to Melbourne.
In the wet weather, it's a long trip up the freeway, but it's going to be a happy one tonight. Well done. Congratulations.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for Fox. Start.
Thanks, mate.
Danny Buderus once again on a Monday night. Now Bundaberg Rum, man of the match. What a win for Newcastle and their captain, 34 points to 10. They've done it nicely indeed. We will take a break and come back with the post-game show, media conferences and chat from the rooms as well in just a moment with Brandy and the boys. Make sure you stay with us.
The Storm have been thundering all season, and the nights blowing hot and cold. But the fires will be raging when these two ignite the next red-hot edition of Monday Night Football.
What a game that's going to be. Welcome back to Monday Night Football. If you've just joined us, Newcastle has staged a major upset, knocking over the Eels 34-10 at Parramatta Stadium. Actually, the Eels are the only favourites to lose this weekend, and Knights coach Brian Smith, I'm sure, is a very happy man. Let's hear what he's got to say at the post-match press conference.
Brian, is that the best performance of 2007 for Newcastle?
Yeah, without any shadow of a doubt. Certainly the first half, and you know, reasonably happy with the way we completed the second half.
No doubt you came here confidently, but did you see it coming?
Oh, I don't know about trying to pick the score. I don't know how anyone ever does that stuff, but I've got no reason not to be confident about our team. I think in the last, I'm not sure, maybe 6 weeks or so, even though we've lost 2 games we should have won in the last 2 weeks, in the last 6 weeks or so, there's just been a positive feel about our team. Our boys are going out and doing the job at an enthusiastic sort of beat, and there's things we can be critical of about losing at times, but I don't really want to talk about the losing right now because they did such a good job for us tonight.
Was it particularly satisfying for you coming back here, Rob?
No.
Did it play much in your mind going into the game?
No.
So it was just literally 2 points, that was all?
I think that's another no.
What was the difference, Brian? All your wins so far this year have been 6 points or less, and against a red-hot side tonight too.
Yeah, I'm not sure Para were at their best tonight. I think we know better than anyone. We came off a bye and got our tails smacked. Not really sure how other teams have gone this season, but I thought they looked a bit rusty, and obviously the conditions were a bit awkward tonight for both teams. I think our boys just dealt with those conditions a bit better tonight.
Steve, do you believe Brian's nose?
Yes. Brian, I know you said it didn't mean anything. I know you said it didn't, the win doesn't mean anything different, but what did it actually feel like?
You guys you need to understand about this sort of job. When you start off, you've got to learn how to put emotion to one side and deal with what's got to be done. I've coached blokes who are my best mates. I've coached my own brother. At times I've dealt with people who I care about a lot, but you've got to put all that sort of stuff aside. You've got to deal with things. So, to be honest, I really didn't. We hardly even spoke about Para or their players or whatever, because as a team at this point in our involvement in the way I want us to work, we're dealing with ourselves. I would very much have liked to have been able to talk a lot about what I knew about Para and their individuals, but we're just not capable of doing that at this stage. Ask me that question next year and I'll be able to say, yeah, we focused hard on this, that and the other. But as far as going back to any ground, if someone can organise for that game to be worth 4 points for us, or 6 or maybe 8, then it would have been something really special.
You think it should have been? You think it maybe should have been?
Well, I thought we certainly deserved to win. Yeah, that's for sure.
Brian, at half-time, a sizable lead there. What did you say to the squad to keep them focused to the end?
And tidy up our kicking game and play smart in possession. They were the 2 major things, and I thought overall we did a pretty good job. I think we made quite a few less errors than Para. We gave away too many penalties. Certainly the referee frowned on us with almost 2-1 tonight. 13 penalties against us is the worst we've had all season, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but it was a strong, dominant performance by Newcastle boys, and I'm really proud of them.
Brian, given you haven't won any other games this year by more than 6 points, it must have been good to open the floodgates there a bit.
Yeah, slightly disappointed that we didn't. I thought we had an opportunity to do a little bit better again in the second half, but I'm grateful. It was nice to enjoy the last 20 minutes of a game without a heap of pressure on us.
And backing up another Monday night, Brian, this will be your fourth Monday night, and this one's a 7-day break. How are you liking or disliking the Monday nights?
I think you should ask Mr. Annesley and whoever else does the scheduling.
Because you've had 4 games.
We've got another one to come.
Yeah.
To count up how many others have had, the equal distribution thing. Probably not the right time for me to talk about it. I'd love to. But it would be churlish of me, wouldn't it?
Steve, how important was this win tonight in terms of your season and the top 8 and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was. It was very important. Obviously, I think it lost last week, which was disappointing. We took a lot of positives out of it, though. But if we had lost again, I think we would have sort of started to slip away from the 8. So we spoke about that, and I think in the next couple of weeks, got some pretty important games to keep ourselves sort of up there in and around the top 8.
Brian, your thoughts on Steve Simpson, Danny Buderus in particular? A very busy 6 weeks mentally and physically.
Oh, amazing how, and Kurt as well. Kurt's a bit rusty, I thought, tonight with some of his actual skill and a bit awkward in the wet tonight, but his enthusiasm and his toughness and Danny Buderus is just one of those special players, and Simo's a bigger bloke he's a bit more like the Mack truck, I suppose, but the motor that Danny's got is incredible. The desire and the willingness to compete. He doesn't amaze me anymore. I'm just very pleased he's in our team, and he's got that sort of leadership about him as well. Because I think the younger boys in our team in particular are responding to Danny's leadership style.
There is the Newcastle coach, no doubt happy. 20-0 at half-time, 34-10 at full-time. Was it interesting to hear what he had to say about how he's dealing with the young Newcastle team? And there's still plenty of young kids in that team, isn't there? How they're not worrying about the opposition, they just get in with what they have to do.
Well, I think you saw that tonight with young Luke Walsh. All he had to worry about was his own game. Don't worry about anything else. Just have to make sure he has a good kicking game. Keep turning the Parramatta side around. But it's interesting to note how he said, look, he didn't really speak about the Parramatta side and coming back to his home ground for 10 years to say, let's not worry about that. We're not going down there to get a win for me. We're going down there for a win for Newcastle. And I think if you do that as a coach and as a player and don't really worry about it too much about who you're playing against, you probably play a bit of football.
Yeah, but Wiz, I mean, you think he's just saying that? You think it didn't really mean something a little bit extra to him? I mean, both you guys have played at a couple of clubs. So when you went back and played against, say you went from the Tigers and you went over to, was it the Roosters, Penrith, Parramatta?
Yeah,
take your pick.
No one else would let me, actually.
I know after spending, 11 years at Penrith, then going to the Warriors, that was the one game that I wanted more than any to win, the one against Penrith. Absolutely, and that'd have to be... Brian Smith would have to, inside, he'd be loving it.
Well,
he'd go, it's human nature.
Coach talk, isn't it? Like a coach talk.
I know he says, look, and look, he would have deflected all the attention off him during the week. Yeah. It was just about the side, but you can't tell me now that he's not sitting there in that Newcastle dressing shed going,
of course,
that's a big one. Welcome back to Monday Night Football, where the Eels have been upstaged by an enthusiastic Knights side at home. Let's wrap up all the results from round 17. The Broncos edged out the neighbouring Titans 19-18 on Friday night in Golden Point at Suncorp Stadium. The Tigers were too strong for the Panthers, winning 43-26. Souths earned plenty of respect from the Storm on Saturday in Gosford before going down 12 points to 8. Cowboys hung on against the Warriors 18-12. Seagulls broke all sorts of records in their 56-0 romp against the Roosters at Brookie, and the Dragons made it back-to-back wins for the first time this season, beating the Raiders 58-16 in Wollongong. The Bulldogs ground out a 14-12 win at Cronulla, and tonight the Knights have smashed the Eels 34-10. So here's the points table at the end of round 17 in the Telstra Premiership, and here it comes. We've got Manly up there first. I'm ad-libbing, and Sea Eagles, Cowboys. The Eels stay in fourth spot. We've got the Tigers on 20 points. The Broncos, the Bulldogs and the Titans all on 18. That's the top 8. Then they've got the Knights also on 18. Important win tonight. They move up to 18 and away from the Sharks, the Warriors and the Rabbitohs, who are sitting on 16 points. The Raiders, the Dragons on 14. The Roosters 12 and Penrith down the bottom on 10 points. Now, boys, big game next Monday night. Talking about just before, we'll promo it in a minute, but the Knights after that win, Olympic Park, Melbourne Storm, fantastic.
It will be a fantastic game of football, but the Melbourne Storm are just in a league of their own. One thing they have to do is Newcastle will have to defend as good or twice as good as they did tonight against Melbourne, because they've got so much more on attack.
Cooper Cronk apparently back for the Melbourne Storm, which will be a
big plus.
A huge plus.
Big plus indeed, because he's been in such great form. So, I mean, it shapes up as a tremendous encounter. We saw tonight just how potent Newcastle are now, because they've got Simpson on one side of the ruck that's so dangerous. They've got young Corey Patterson on the other side of the ruck, and Buderus straight through the centre of the ruck. So, I mean, they've got... And who knows, Mullen may be back. Joe Mullen as well.
Yep. And on to the NRL now, and it's been a horror night for Parramatta, thumped on the scoreboard by Newcastle. And they may have lost star fullback Luke Burt for the season with a knee injury.
No Jared Mullen for the Knights. You'd think the chips would be down, but before they'd even made a tackle, Mitchell Sargent opened their account.
He crashes over.
They were in again through Steve Simpson. That took them to 12-0 when Danny Buderus did some boot scooting. George Carmont had a saloon passage to the try line.
Get Carmont back on the inside. It is on Newcastle on Monday night.
It took a copybook tackle from Ben Smith to stop another just before half-time. When they returned, the Eels' night got even worse.
On top of him on, no, I think Danny Buderus has fallen on the lower leg, the right leg of Luke Burt.
The competition's leading point scorer in agony with a dislocated knee. He was taken off, his season almost certainly over.
But in a world of hurt at the moment.
The Eels were suffering on the scoreboard too. McDougall put McManus over in the corner. Then Corey Patterson's miracle pass had Carmont in for his second.
Abraham is still going, and they're in.
It took 60 minutes for the Eels to break their dark.
Pass, a good pass to Mateo. The Eels have found a way.
But their defence was paper thin. McDougall crashed past 2 out wide as the Eels crashed to a humiliating defeat.
Well, that was embarrassing for the youngster.
Paul Cochran for Sports Tonight.
A battle of the coaches who swapped clubs this season, and it was Brian Smith's men taking the honours, the Knights crossing for 6 tries in a ruthless display.
I'm grateful. It was nice to enjoy the last 20 minutes of a game without a heap of pressure on us.
If we had lost again, I think we would have sort of started to slip away from the 8. So we spoke about that.
It appeared from nearly the word go or a yard off the pace the whole game, so the fears were sort of confirmed in the way we played.
So as we head into the business end of the season, the Storm remain the front runners, the Eels remain in 4th spot despite tonight's loss. Across the page, and the Knights now just outside the top 8, while the Dragons' big win over the Raiders has them finally moving in the right direction.
Anderson calling it quits after the horror 56-0 loss to Manly. As Fitler took charge of his first training session, relief among players at the timing of Anderson's exit.
I didn't want to see him get sacked either. I wanted him to go out, and if it's affecting his health, then it's only a game of footy at the end of the day, isn't it?
In a twist of fate, Fitler's first coaching opponent will be Ricky Stewart, the man the Roosters showed the door to at the end of last season after 5 years at the helm. A good mate, though, with a friendly warning.
I'm going to take a photo of Brad Fitler today, and then I'll do another one in a couple of months. We'll see how he goes.
But quick to add, Freddie can do the job.
He's going to be a great coach. He's one of the best leaders I've played with. as a player, and now the big challenge of him is to be a coach.
Adam Hawes, 10 News.
In other league news, Parramatta's Luke Burt needs more scans to determine how badly he's injured his knee, which was dislocated in last night's big loss to Newcastle. It was a bleak result for the Eels, who didn't rate the night's effort as anything special.
While the win was important for Newcastle to stay in touch with the top 8, there was another issue simmering today. And it all got back to what the Parramatta captain said after the game.
They just played a boring style of football that, 5 up for a kick, held the ball, which we didn't.
It was wet, wet and that, so I don't think we played boring footy, we just played smart footy and we got the win.
And it was more than convincing. With Buderus leading the way, the Knights ran at will. Coming off the bye, Parramatta offered little. They were beaten 34-10, and the comments by Hindmarsh didn't go down well.
It was a strong, dominant performance by Newcastle boys, and I'm really proud of them.
The injury to Luke Burt made it a bleak night for the Eels.
It's certainly a bad knee injury. Oh, gee. Either way, it's not good.
The pain was unbearable, and look at the reaction from the players around him. It said it all.
And talk about the future. Sorry, mate. Talk about the future of rugby league. A lot of people are asking, what's Joey doing now he's retired? Well, if you have a look at this, you can see he's working very, very hard. In Newcastle in the week, or during the week, they had 300 kids that travelled from a long, long way away to be hand coached by the master himself, Joey, and he loved it. He'd done a wonderful job. Had rave reviews from all the kids, and of course, it made all the papers and the headlines there in Newcastle.
Was that a Newcastle Rugby League initiative?
Yes, it was.
Well done, mate, because that's fantastic.
Joey's about to do a deal with the club very shortly to make sure that his name and his legacy with coaching clinics and all sorts of things is going to be passed on. So well done, Joey. And of course, he's living the dream. He's what he's doing off the field now. He loves doing it. There's talk of him going across with the Wallabies, doing bits and pieces here, maybe going on tour. So good on you, Joe. Keep up the good work, brother.
Now, we just saw before Brett Kamali say that he wants to get into coaching. And I know I'm biased, but Andrew is a great player. But he can also, I tell you, he could be a great coach. I think at the moment there's a lot of players finishing their careers that'll go straight into coaching. I think Brett will be one, and I think Andrew's capable of doing it. Love to see him take on the challenge.
Now it's time to announce the winner from last week. Ooh. All right, just a little drum roll. Pretty good. You're getting better, Mark. The winner from last week, Liam, of course, versus Milton, with 61% of the vote. Liam Campbell has won. Liam Campbell from Penrith. Milton was very, very good, but Liam got the vote, 61%. He now goes through to the quarterfinals. So well done to Liam.
James Blunt, he was good, wasn't he?
Yeah, mate, very, very good.
It's the Storm and the Knights on Monday Night Football.
Round 18 of Monday Night Football is live from Olympic Park in Melbourne. It's the Storm up against the Knights. Brian Smith's men will be looking to continue their run after smashing the Eels at Parramatta Stadium last Monday, while the Storm welcome back Cooper Cronk at halfback as they look to maintain a 4-point break at the top of the table. G'day everyone, welcome to Fox Sports' continuing coverage of the Telstra Premiership. It's been a big weekend, particularly on the injury front with Broncos captain Darren Lockyer, the major casualty. He's out for the rest of the season after rupturing his ACL in Friday night's win against the Cowboys. More on the growing injury toll later this hour, but joining me tonight, Gary Freeman and Gordon Tallison. Gents, big game for the Knights, sitting 10th on the ladder. Can they get it done at Olympic Park?
Look, it's going to be tough for them. I think they can actually win this game. They've got to defend as well as they did against Parramatta last week and show a lot more enterprise with the football at the same time. But for me, though, the Melbourne Storm, they've got Clint Newton on the bench. If it was me, I was coaching the side, I'd be chucking him into the side straight away, go from the outset, put Jeremy Smith back to the bench and let him go at his old club, mate, because I think that'll be the highlight of the ground.
Gordy, only 2 losses for the Melbourne Storm. Yeah. Cooper Cronk back and halfback should give them much better rhythm in attack, which they have struggled with in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, look, if Newcastle are going to win tonight, they're going to have to be right on their game, and Buderus and their key players, MacDougall and Simpson, are going to have to play great. But I think Melbourne have just got too much firepower, and they can be a little bit down and still beat Newcastle. Especially there, I think it's time for Melbourne to make their run for the finals, and they'll be pulling the whips out, and just too much class, I think.
OK, let's cross to Olympic Park where Warren Smith and Laurie Daly are standing by. Was it Brian Smith said last week after their win against the Eels it was their best of the season. I think tonight would top that if they can get the cash against the Storm at Olympic Park.
Yeah, you're right, Brandy. Of course, the Melbourne Storm here at the Graveyard have won 24 of their last 25 games. What a record that is. Their only loss recently, of course, was to the Warriors in the run-up to the finals in 2006, but they are a very tough team, of course, the league leaders here. Now, tonight in Melbourne, boys, we've had some cold Monday night games, but tonight it is absolutely frozen here at the Graveyard. It feels like a graveyard. The old clock on the silo, made famous in the Paul Kelly song, says 9 degrees. Well, don't believe it, Laurie, because the wind coming out of the northwest makes it feel like it's -3 at best.
Well, that wind chill factor has certainly played a part here tonight. I am absolutely frozen, Warren. It reminds me of the days of Canberra.
It can't be that bad.
Well, it is. It is freezing. I guarantee you by the time kickoff rolls around, we'll have 7 or 8 degrees, and by half time, it'll be down to 4 or 5. It is absolutely freezing.
Now let's try and warm things up and look at some hot action, of course. Danny Buderus, now what a player he's been on Monday Night Football. They've played 4 games, Newcastle. He's won the Man of the Match, the Bundaberg Run Man of the Match award on 3 times.
Oh, he's just been in super form, Danny Buderus, for the Newcastle Knights. Obviously loves playing Monday Night Football. Very competitive. He does his fair share of work in defence, and his ability off quick play the balls to get out of dummy half and spot the openings, which has been really impressive for Newcastle over the last couple of weeks. He terrorised Parramatta from that position last weekend. He made a great run out of dummy half, set up a try to Georgie Carmont, and he'll really relish the prospect of coming up against the incumbent test hooker in Cameron Smith.
Yeah, what a game he had last Monday night against the Parramatta Eels. Now here is well, I write his name on it now. We'll just put Danny Buderus on this right now, the Bundaberg Rum check.
Well, I think Cameron Smith may have something to say about that later on. Of course, renews a great rivalry between these two players. Danny Buderus gave away his Australian jersey at the end of last season, wanted to be at the birth of his baby. He missed the game. Cameron Smith took over and has been in superb form. Cameron Smith, player of the series in the Origin series, but Danny Buderus, I think he provides something special tonight. I think he really looks forward to the challenge of playing against Cameron Smith.
I might say the check for our next man, Steve Simpson, because what form he's been in. You think of Steve Simpson, you think damaging runner down that right-hand side, classic defender as well. You think he's the pro. I mean, he is the absolute NRL pro, isn't he? The quintessential.
Oh, look, he just does everything right. He's very aggressive. He runs down that right edge of the football field. He knows who to target. He really studies up on the opposition, can pull off the big hits in defence. He's just one of those players that you love playing with. You know he's never going to let you down. And I'm sure these Newcastle Knights players, when they look around their dressing shed and they're about to leave and participate in the game, they look at Steve Simpson in the eyes and they know they've got someone that's not going that is going to be there and put his best foot forward.
Yeah, it'll be a tough night for Newcastle, of course, with this cold northwester blowing down the ground. We'll see how they fare. I know somebody on the sideline tonight is ready for the cold. In fact, he loves the cold. That's our sideline eye, Andy Raymond.
Warren, in regards to the cold, there's a line there that I could use that I'm certainly not going to. I'll just cop it here. In fact, it'll be worth braving the conditions to be close to the sideline, close to Clint Newton, who tonight goes up against his former club. When Terry Hill retired a couple of years ago, Clint Newton grabbed the mantle of the game's best sledger. He's against his mates tonight. There'll be plenty of the verbal stuff that I'm looking forward to. Let's take a look at the way these two sides will take the field tonight. And for the Melbourne Storm, there is the one change. Ben Cross is out. Garrett Crossman in jersey number 19 comes into the starting side. Gary Freeman, you are a coach in waiting. Clint Newton will start in place of Jeremy Smith, who moves back to the bench. He joins Lima, Blair and Orbison. The coach, of course, is Craig Bellamy. For the Newcastle Knights, a couple of changes too. Georgie Carmont is out. Brad Tye, jersey number 18, returns into the centres. On the bench, Corey Patterson and Cade Snowden are out. Their replacements, the 22 Terence Seers and the 23 Matthew White. The side, of course, is coached by Brian Smith. Well, Melbourne in Melbourne at night. It's arguably the game's most difficult road trip, and considering the massive amount of injuries the Knights have had this year, continuity and consistency in performance as well as combination has been difficult. I spoke to Kurt Gidley on arrival.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for every team. There's been plenty of injuries on the weekend again for teams, so it's tough, you know, to try and get those sort of combinations, that sort of thing, but I think we've done pretty well with the players we've got, yeah.
9th place, 18 competition points, and the good news is your fate is in your hands. You're not relying on other teams.
Yeah, and I think a few results went our way on the weekend, so to get 2 points tonight will be a massive bonus, yeah.
Coming up against one of your good mates and an old club mate, Clint Newton, tonight, known as the best sledger in the game. Are you expecting some light-hearted stuff out there?
Oh, yeah, I suppose, but I guess he's got to worry about his own game first before he starts sledging anyone, and then whatever happens from there, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Kirk Gidley there, and news Danny Buderus has missed a lot of training this week. He goes into the game with an Achilles issue, but it's a game he is desperate not to miss. Kick-off in just over an hour, and we'll speak to both coaches within the next hour in our pre-game show.
Now, last Monday night, Newcastle coach Brian Smith attracted plenty of attention before his team's clash against the Eels. Tonight, he's probably under as much pressure to get a result against runaway leaders Melbourne. Let's see what he's got to say. He's with Andy Raymond.
Brian, Melbourne in Melbourne at night. Is it the hardest road trip in rugby league?
Probably is, yeah. Those stats are a bit imposing, aren't they? We know we're in for a tough night tonight.
7 days ago, you performed very well, and that's probably an understatement. How have you gone about the search for consistency in those 7 days?
Oh, it's been difficult again this week. We just had quite a few guys who were unable to train earlier in the week, but we cobbled together another team, and hopefully we can get another good start like we got last week. That certainly makes a difference.
The mental side of rugby league as opposed to the physical side, is that the difference in results largely? They're all big and strong enough, they're all almost as fit as each other?
Yeah, but I think from time to time, I think you can run into a team, or you can be the team that's a bit below your physical best. Certainly if you haven't got your best players, they generally are your physically best equipped players as well. But, last week I think we ran into Para at a good time. They came off a 17-day break with the bye. I'd like to think Melbourne might be the same tonight, but I doubt it.
Does Newcastle have to be at its very best tonight to beat this mob down here?
Yeah, and probably a bit more. We'd like a few bounces of the ball on the whole bit tonight, mate.
Well, if the bounce of the ball goes your way, you'll be smiling on the plane back.
We sure will. Yeah, if we can get a win tonight, we'll have done real well.
Alrighty, time for another break. On the other side, we'll hear from Storm captain Cameron Smith, but the Knights will be hoping their skipper Danny Buderus can ignite another Monday night boil over. Welcome back to Monday Night Football. The Melbourne Storm warming up. I reckon they'd need an extra long warm-up. It's that cold in Melbourne tonight. Looking to continue their unbeaten run this season at Olympic Park. The Knights will be relying on their senior players. Steve Simpson, one of those, along with Adam MacDougall. There is some great matchups, isn't there? Smith and Buderus are going to be great. It was terrific watching them during State of Origin. Who's one, who's two?
Hoffman and Simpson.
Yep.
And Gidley and Slater. They're worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about White and Woolnough? Like the big men are going to come together. Slater at the back, Gidley. Mate, it's just going to be a fantastic game of footy.
Do you think the Knights are a chance? Do you give the Knights a chance?
I do, mate. Yeah, I think Brian Smith will have a game plan that'll be very, very different. I think they'll try and slow the ball down. They'll try and kick it out as much as possible. Don't give Billy Slater enough time to actually bring the football back to them. So expect them to get the ball over the line as much as possible.
Mate, I think the Melbourne Storm kicking game, they put the back three under more pressure than any other kickers in the comp. They kick short, they kick for the centre position. King comes through. I think that's what's going to be the difference tonight, Melbourne Storm's kicking game.
OK, let's go back to Olympic Park. I'm a Melbourne man. I don't think they can get beaten. Laurie Daly, what do you think? Are the Knights a chance?
I think they're a chance, Brandy, but you'd be a brave man to tip against the Melbourne Storm. They've won their past 24 out of 25 games down here. They play the dimensions of this football field so well. Gordy and Gary just touched on the kicking games of both teams. They're such an important component of today's game, and I think that's where Melbourne Storm certainly have an advantage. A look for the young Luke Walsh, who put under an enormous amount of pressure here tonight. Even the best of kickers come down here to Olympic Park. They struggle to keep the ball in play. At times they kick the ball out on the full, and I'm sure that will be a big part of the Melbourne Storm tactics tonight, pressure some of their young guys. I've got no doubt that the senior players for Newcastle will try hard and try and inspire their teammates. But look, I'll go for Melbourne, and I think Melbourne can get the job done quite comfortably.
Good on you, Loz. Thanks for that. We're all set for another huge clash on Monday Night Football. The Knights can jump to 7th place with a win at Olympic Park, while the Storm are eyeing off a 4-point break at the top of the table. Kick-off is next, so stay with us.
They don't call it the graveyard for nothing. Many a team's hopes lie buried in the cold Olympic Park ground after the Storm have run the lance through them. They are ruthless in their demolition of all rivals to the crown they covet. And now, the Knights are set to do battle with the competition frontrunners. It's an almighty quest, but victory will stoke the fire of ambition in the men from the Hunter, bringing the prospect of a finals appearance tantalisingly close. Can they achieve where so many have failed? Or will the last rites be read and another team's name chiselled on a headstone? There's no more daunting task in rugby league, and it's here on Monday Night Football. Storm and the Knights on Fox Sports.
On a cold winter's night here in Melbourne, Monday Night Football returns to the graveyard to see the league-leading Melbourne Storm up against the Newcastle Knights, a team on the outside of the top 8 looking to force their way in. And the Melbourne Storm, of course, looking to put another 2-game gap between themselves and the Manly Seagulls at the top of the NRL ladder. They've been in terrific form recently, and of course tonight they have the return of their halfback Cooper Cronk. The Newcastle Knights coming off a win last Monday night against the Parramatta Eels. They'll be confident, but of course they are in the deep end of the pool here this evening. Gidley, McManus, Ty, McDougall, Woolnough, Abraham and Walsh make up the back line for Newcastle. Their forward pack is Sargent, Buderus, Woolnough, Simpson, Taya and also Tanner. And a couple of changes also there on their bench. Young, Royal, Siu and White. Terrence Siu and Matthew White, the inclusions there in the 17. They were in terrific form last Monday night, Laurie. If they can keep that going here tonight, we've got a real game on our hands.
Well, one thing which really improved for Newcastle last weekend was their ability to score points. That's been a real problem for them, and an ability to stop points. Yet last weekend they really came with a good game plan against Parramatta. They carved them up around the middle of the park, and Denny Buderus in particular was outstanding, which he has been all season for the Newcastle Knights.
Will the loss of their inspirational leader spell the end of the Broncos' title defence? Far from being a one-man band, they remain in the hunt as they face their first test against an Eels side that's arguably back on the finals track on the next Monday Night Football.
Both coming off wins, so it's going to be a beauty next Monday night. Welcome back. Now, if you've just joined us, the Melbourne Storm they've smashed the Newcastle Knights 44-0 at Olympic Park, and a week is a long time in rugby league. Just ask Brian Smith, who is with Kurt Gidley at the post-match press conference.
Brian, from Melbourne, is that as good as complete a performance as you've seen in 2007?
I'm probably not in a fit state of mind at the moment to make that assessment. There'll be other people in better place, but they were way too good for us. Yeah, I think to be fair to the referee there, I think a lot of it was based on their strength. You know, they were coming hard at us, and we just couldn't quite hold on, and he got on his horse a bit about it. I think we had 3 penalties in the first 15 minutes, and we got the compulsory flattering one at the end just to let us know what we hadn't had. But, you know, there's no complaints about that tonight. They were the best team won, and they won emphatically.
You don't see that as an ongoing thing around the ruck, just because of the game tonight? Like, you don't think it's going to be an ongoing problem with the refs? Or?
I would certainly hope not. I certainly hope it's not for us. You know, we've been reasonably disciplined throughout the course of the year, but tonight was, you know, some of that was maybe the edict or whatever, the focus, but it was definitely also them coming over the top of us or half breaking us a lot of the time.
Considering they were so good, is it hard to be overcritical of your side? No doubt you're disappointed, but is it hard to be overly critical?
Yeah, I don't think it was any lack of endeavour on our behalf tonight, but you know, we're simply understaffed. We've had 36 blokes play first grade this season. We had 20 to pick from this weekend. That's all we have, and it's probably all we'll have on the next weekend as well. So it's, you know, everybody, all shoulders to the wheel and all that sort of stuff. And, You know, I thought last week we got off to a great start against a team that were a bit out of sorts. Tonight it was the opposite. Had a couple of chances, didn't quite get the bounce of the ball or get the right decision for us, and it was always going to be tough from that point on.
Where's Danny now in terms of his injury? Brian obviously came off a couple of times there.
Danny's got an ongoing thing with his Achilles, mate, and he wasn't going to. There's plenty of times where both he and Kurt this year have turned the whole thing around for us, but it would have taken even more than those two blokes to turn it around tonight. I just took him off as a precaution.
Kurt, on the field, could you feel it from the opening 15 minutes? Cooper Werner came close twice. It turned and straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to get one of those early tries. The tide turned, and their support, their tip-ons were a good style of play. So they're a top team.
Are they as good as you've played against this year?
Yeah, for sure. As I just said, their style of play was pretty much perfect. I don't know if they just done that for us, but their tactics were very good.
Brian, we all love our stats, but the simple one tonight is no ball, no contest.
Yeah, but most of the time you earn your ball. You've got to defend it and you've got to work hard to get it back, and you do. The rules allow for that if you're good enough, but we just weren't quite good enough for that tonight. I can make some excuses here for you if you like, but at the end of the day, I should be saying the better team won, shouldn't I?
Brian, do you think that's enough for Newcastle Monday night football? You've had your fair share this year. I tried to get you last week.
Yeah, I'd be hoping that we don't. Well, I don't think we do. We might get the last game. I don't think they've told us when the last game is. They probably pencil us in for that, I'd say, just to make it 8 for the year.
Brian, you've got a young group here. How far off do you think you are of these guys? Obviously, these guys are the competition front runners. How big a gap do you think is there between?
Tonight, about 40 odd points.
How long do you?
Sorry, mate.
No,
well, we feel like we've taken some steps for next season with the recruits that we've got. We'd certainly not like to have an injury run like we've got at the moment. We could have come here tonight with machetes and Gatling guns, and with all our players, A-Johns and whoever, and we still might have run second. I'm trying not to be too lavish in my praise about Melbourne, but I admire the way they've been set up, and as a club, they've worked it. They've done all the hard yards to get themselves to the point where they made a grand final last season, and I thought were very stiff not to win it. And tonight is an example of what they can do when they're at their best against a team that's not. And that's us.
The guy John said that they're morals this year, Melbourne. Do you agree with him?
He's a much better punter than me, mate. I wouldn't have a clue.
Will you get Jared Mullen back next week?
Jared's a chance. Yeah, he would be our best chance of adding someone back to our squad next week.
But no one else?
Not as far as I know, no.
Can you talk, Brian, take something out of this game that, yes, Melbourne were good, but by the same token, you fed them?
I missed that. Sorry, Steve.
Can you take something out of this game, the fact that, yes, Melbourne were good, but you fed them a lot of ball?
Mate, I think the best thing out of tonight's game is I don't think we got any more injuries. That's about all. And we probably got, it might be a bit weird, I suppose, but we got the experience of playing against a team, playing at the level and with the teamwork and coordination that we aspire to ourselves. So sometimes when you get one of these sort of touch-ups, it remains with you for a long time. It certainly will with me, and I'm hoping that our boys will see that as the model, the level that we need to get to.
Yeah, look, they're a long way from the Melbourne Storm, but 36 players is a lot to use through a season. No Jared Mullen, no Corey Patterson, certainly hurts them in attack, Wiz.
Oh, it certainly does, especially with Mullen not there. I just think it gives a bit more guidance for the kicking game with young Luke Walsh. When those two do play together, they seem to be playing pretty good football. I think with the Monday night stuff, he's won 3 out of 4 on Monday nights. He does have the last game of the season on a Monday night, so there's plenty of Monday night football just for Newcastle, and they probably should share it around maybe a little bit more.
3 from 4, 3 from 5. After
3 from 5.
3 from 5 after they lost tonight, so they were going pretty good.
Why am I going soft for?
Oh, you're sticking up for someone. You're talking.
No, I'm not. I just think that Now, there's other teams in the competition. The Warriors, I don't think they actually get a Monday Night Football. Maybe it's a little bit too far for Loz and Woz to go a little bit cold.
Too far.
Well, they're even attacking each other. The coaches, they're even ripping into each other. Now, yesterday, under the grandstand at Parramatta, South Sydney's Jason Taylor launched a 4-letter attack on his rival, Michael Hagan of the Eels. Taylor, whose coaching services had been unwanted at Parramatta, ripped into Hagan, who joined Parramatta from Newcastle. Taylor snarled, "What's here at Parramatta was already in place for you. Brian Smith is rebuilding what you effed up in Newcastle." I mean, that's great stuff.
Did you have a point?
It'd be great stuff if he didn't use the F word, because then it's just a good old spray. The F word comes in and it's not so good.
I'll say this for Michael Hagan. He's got 2 more premierships than Jason Taylor and Brian Smith combined. And he's not a dud coach. And I tell you, he is, of all the rugby league coaches, probably the most easygoing.
Do you know what he said to Jason Taylor? Because Jason,
how was your warm up?
No, yes, and he also said to Jason Taylor, "We won without Joey Johns this week," because Jason's been one of those people, I guess, who's been saying, you know, you couldn't win any events with Newcastle if you didn't have Joey Johns.
But also there's the fact that he would have liked to have been the coach of. He would like to be carrying on what Brian.
This is the point here. Isn't this refreshing to see 2 coaches going toe to toe? I reckon that's got to be good for NRL.
I don't think it's bad.
The only way better through the environment would be a pub with over a few beers and a bit of.
They can drop the swear words out of it, and it's just a fantastic
Sells a few
spray.
papers, big names hammering each other.
The Melbourne Storm are deserving NRL ladder leaders. Just ask the Newcastle Knights, thumped this evening by 44 points.
Always tough at home, minutes into the clash, and Melbourne caught the Knights napping.
One is still for Turner, and Newcastle's defence breaks down badly.
Cooper Cronk handed Newcastle a chance from the kick-off. Cooper Vuna unable to make Melbourne pay. Over the line, but so is his toe. His night made worse moments later at the other end.
Loud gives it to Quinn. Oh, he just went straight past Cooper Vuna. A bad miss by the winger.
Mitchell Sargent provided brief steal for the Knights' armour. Not enough though. Hoffman strolled through all too easily. Smith and Slater then combined for the Storm's 4th first-half try.
Slater this time, well, they're just killing them. It is an absolute old-fashioned carve-up on that side of the field. Newcastle are gone. Their right-hand side defence leaking like the Titanic.
Buderus left to lick his wounds for the rest of the half. More pain after the break. Smith and King conspired to deflate any remaining resistance, as evidenced by the way Israel Folau carved them up just 2 tackles later. The youngest player on the field setting up Slater's second.
Billy the Kid will get the 6 shooters blazing. He runs away to score under the post.
Frustrations from the Newcastle captain, a warning not heeded. Simpson sent to the bin, and in his absence the Storm piled on the points, including 4 of them to Newcastle old boy Clint Newton. Anthony Goodridge for Sports Tonight.
Almost 50 points in, it stunned Newcastle coach Brian Smith, recognising that's the difference between his young side and one of the premiership favourites.
So sometimes when you get one of these sort of touch-ups, it remains with you for a long time. It certainly will with me, and I'm hoping that our boys will see that as the model, you know, the level that we need to get to.
The only thing we know, we're going to be in the semi-finals now, and you know, what position we're going to be, who knows? But you know, we've still got that 7 weeks, and there's some areas that we can improve in our game.
So Melbourne still the front runners after round 18. Their lead back up to 4 points. The Broncos jump into 5th after their win over the Cowboys. Over the page, and the loss doing nothing for the Knights. For and against, they are sitting in 10th position, while the bottom places remain filled by the most entertaining winners of the round, the Roosters and the Panthers.
OK, now the Knights are also in the group of teams who are possibles as opposed to probables for the top 8. Andrew Johns, of course, retired earlier this season. Jared Mullen, Josh Perry, Milton Thaiday and Danny Buderus, also some big names there, missing plenty of games at different stages for the Knights in 2007. 8 others at the moment, of course. We can't put them all on the page because they have got injury worries galore at the moment up there in Newcastle. The Roosters, Warriors, Dragons, Sea Eagles, Panthers, Cowboys and Tigers is there. A bunch of teams there in and around where they are on the table at the moment. I guess if they're to make it, they need to win those games.
Yeah, they do, and it's a big occasion for them this weekend, taking on the Roosters. The Roosters are at the bottom of the competition table. Plenty of people are expecting them to beat the Roosters, but with no Denny Buderus, you wouldn't be saying they're specials at all. I think it's a telling week for the Newcastle Knights. If they're to make the finals, they will win this game. If they don't, I can't see them making it.
And the couple living their football dreams. She plays for Australia and he's been given a second chance at league after almost dying. Welcome to Sport. Ongoing complaints of burnout from the NRL's elite players has forced the game's governing body to alter next year's draw. It comes in the wake of a host of internationals being sidelined through injury. The main changes are 2 byes for all teams and a reduced Monday night schedule. The NRL says it's not a band-aid solution.
I'm surprised to hear that comment, but I think it was very well received today, not only by our clubs, but by some of the game's elite players and indeed the Players Association.
75 players will sit out round 19 through injury. The injury concerns have really hit hard at the Newcastle Knights, but of course it gives new faces a chance, and for one player it's an opportunity he thought he'd never get.
He might not be the biggest name, but Knights utility Michael Young might just be producing the gutsiest comeback in the NRL. A man fighting back from the mental anguish of being told he should be dead.
The doctor come in, it wasn't until I seen his face, and he said that he's 20 years doing stomachs, and he said it was the worst he's ever seen. He said, not 5 minutes, I was dead.
Young's appendix had burst, and only a late jump in the hospital queue saved his life. 3 years on, his scars a constant reminder.
Appendicitis can result in death if the diagnosis is made late, and people can be extremely ill.
Even though he survived, Young had lost 20 kilos in 2 days and took months to recover. For the first time in his life, he was prepared to give away the game he loves.
20 years old, and then realised I I nearly died. He said I should be dead, just hit you. Sort of, you haven't done nothing in your life.
But with the support of fiancée Beck, an Australian women's rugby union player, he's made it back to the top.
Yeah, I'm very proud. He's done really well. All the support from his family and his friends and his teammates to get him back to where he is just great. It's really good.
And preparing for Saturday's clash with the Roosters, Young now takes nothing for granted.
You don't know what's around the corner, so every day, every game you play, you just got to look forward to it, cherish it.
Adam Hawes, 10 News.